Chapter 15:13. Uncle, don't worry. I won't let anyone touch little sister Ling. Hua Yifei's voice was solemn as he made a solemn vow. Originally, Jun Xian didn't want Ling to participate in this battle. However, Ling claimed that she wanted to face life and death together with the Jun family. Therefore, he had no choice but to let Hua Yifei protect her. On the other side, Hua Yifei was fighting the enemies while observing Jun Ling-er's situation. The more he watched, the more frightened he became. Ling-er had been traveling with Grandpa Jun all these years. Her strength had improved a lot. She was no longer the little girl who hid behind him for protection. At this moment, Hua Yifei didn't know if he was proud or disappointed. In short, if he didn't work hard, this girl would surpass him in the future. Cousin, it's enough for you to take care of yourself. Don't worry about me. Ling-er wiped the blood that splashed on her face. Her light voice was like that of an oriole, clear and sweet. I won't embarrass grandfather. As a daughter of the Jun family, how could she be useless? Grandpa Jun had trained her. If she couldn't defeat these people, wouldn't she embarrass Grandpa Jun? Hua Yifei nodded. He was reassured by Ling-er's growth. He began to focus on fighting the enemies in front of him. I didn't expect Jun Xian to be so strong. An elder of the Blue Thunder clan had a gloomy look on his face. It will be very disadvantageous for us if this continues. After all, the Jun family has many enemies, and many allies. I'm afraid that our entire army will be wiped out if those people rush over to help us. Thinking of this, the elder's eyes flashed. He took a few steps back and sneered. Jun Xian, I heard that your Jun family found Jun Ling Tian's granddaughter some time ago? What does it have to do with you? Jun Xian said mockingly. Your Jun family's granddaughter obviously has nothing to do with me. But unfortunately, that girl has already fallen into the hands of our Blue Thunder clan. What? Jun Xian was shocked by the news. He didn't even see the attack in front of him. With a bang, he took a few steps back and spat out a mouthful of blood. Father! Uncle! Jun Ling-er and Hua Yifei's expressions changed drastically. One after another, they rushed to Jun Xian and helped him up. Dad, are you okay? Jun Ling-er was so distressed that she was about to cry. Her eyes were red as she looked at Jun Xian anxiously. If it was in the past, Jun Xian would definitely not bear to see his daughter cry. But now, he was in no mood to care about Jun Ling-er. His eyes were red as he stared at the Green Thunder clan elder. What did you say? My poor niece is in your hands? The elder of the Green Thunder clan sneered. That's right. I've already verified that the jade tablet in her hand belongs to the Jun family. Give me the jade token. Show me the jade token. Jun Xian slowly straightened his body and clenched his fists tightly. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Jade token. The elder of the Green Thunder clan sneered. With a wave of his hand, a jade token appeared in his hand. From afar, Jun Xian could only see the word Jun engraved on the jade token, but he couldn't see the specific lines. He quickly rushed towards the Blue Thunder clan elder, wanting to snatch the jade token and study it. Crack! The elder of the Green Thunder clan elder exerted force in his hand. The jade token immediately turned into powder and drifted into the air. Chapter 15:14. No! Jun Xian's eyes widened as he clenched his fists, his hands trembling. You're asking for it. This jade token was the only way to verify one's identity. Now that it had turned into powder in the hands of the Green Thunder clan's elder, how could he verify his niece's identity? You want this jade token back, but I won't let you have it. I'm going to destroy this token. What are you going to do about it? The Green Thunder clan's elder laughed coldly and waved his hand. Men, bring that woman here. Not long after, two guards escorted a woman over from behind. The woman was tied up and had a lifeless expression on her face. It was obvious that she had suffered a great shock recently, so much so that her face was extremely pale. Wah! The moment she saw the Jun family, the young woman burst into tears. Uncle, save me. The word uncle made Jun Xian's heart twitch. You're my master's granddaughter? Actually, when the Green Thunder clan brought the green-clothed woman over, Jun Xian already had some confidence. After all, if the Green Thunder clan didn't have absolute confidence, they wouldn't have dared to bring her over. Unfortunately, he didn't get to see the jade token. Of course, if the jade token had only been crushed into powder, he he would have been able to determine the material of the jade token from the powder and determine its authenticity. However, the powder had already been scattered by the wind and blown to every corner of the city. It would be very difficult for him to find out. The woman in green cried miserably, her face pale. Not long ago, my mother told me that I was not her biological daughter, but an adopted one. Then she gave me this jade token and asked me to come to the June family to look for my family. In fact, after the news of the June family's granddaughter being in the 7 continents spread, everyone in the 7 continents knew of her existence. Along with that, the pattern of the jade token was also spread. That day, the woman in green, Chao Yuechin, was in a state of frustration. She had finally found someone she loved, but she was mocked by her beloved for his lowly status. Therefore, she angrily went back to her mother and asked why she had such a useless father. So much so that she was ridiculed. A few days later, her mother handed her the jade tablet and told her that she was, in fact, Grandpa June's granddaughter. After receiving such a pleasant surprise, Chao Yuechin couldn't help but go to the people who ridiculed her to show off. However, she accidentally encountered people from the Blue Thunder clan, who took her away and imprisoned her. From the beginning to the end, Chao Yuechin had never doubted the authenticity of the jade pendant. She had also forgotten that her mother was a sculptor, so it was extremely easy for her to carve a jade pendant according to the pattern. The people of the Blue Thunder clan hadn't expected that someone would dare to impersonate the granddaughter of the June family's old master under such circumstances. Moreover, they hadn't expected that someone in this world would be able to carve a fake jade tablet in such a manner. The only difference was probably the material. Unfortunately, the people of the Blue Thunder clan didn't know what material Yun Luofeng's jade tablet was made of. As for Jun Xian, he hadn't even touched the jade token, so how could he be sure? Let her go. Jun Xian was already 30% convinced, and he berated in a stern voice. If you dare touch her in the slightest, I'll make you die a graveless death. Haha. The elder of the Blue Thunder clan laughed 3 times, and the corners of his lips curled up in disdain. It wasn't easy for me to capture this girl, so how could I let her go so easily? Unless you, Jun Xian, are willing to commit suicide in front of me. Chapter 15:15. Father. Jun Ling Er's heart trembled. She clutched Jun Xian's hand tightly and shook her head. Father, don't. Jun Xian smiled as he looked at the elder's wrinkled face. If this girl is really my niece, I would rather die than break Master's heart. Unfortunately, you've destroyed the jade pendant. I can't confirm if she's really my unfortunate niece. Jun Xian's eyes flashed. That's why I'll have to wait for my father to return. The elder sneered. Do you think I'll fall for your delaying trick? I'll give you one chance now. Kill yourself in front of me. Otherwise, I'll kill this girl. He raised his hand and lifted Chao Yuechin's robe in front of him. Spiritual energy gathered in his palm. He only needed one move to kill Chao Yuechin. No, I don't want to die. Uncle, save me. Chao Yuechin screamed anxiously. I'm really your niece, I'm sure of it. Jun Xian's expression changed when he saw that the elder was about to kill Chao Yuechin. He quickly shouted, Stop! Sure enough, the Blue Thunder clan's elder stopped and sneered at Jun Xian. So, have you made up your mind? Jun Xian took a deep breath and looked at Jun Ling lovingly. He raised his hand and caressed her tear-stained face. Ling, Master gave me my life. I'm willing to die for Master. Father. Ling hugged Jun Xian tightly as tears streamed down her face. I don't want you to die. I don't want you to die. Bang. Jun Xian raised his hand and pushed Ling away. Hua Yifei stepped forward and hugged Ling's trembling body tightly. All right. Jun Xian slowly turned around and looked at the elder's sinister face. I'll do as you wish. I hope you'll keep your promise and let her go. Even if the Jun family was destroyed, it wouldn't be as good as his niece. Who asked Master to run around for his niece all these years? Now that he finally found his niece, how could he let her go again? Cousin, let me go. I can't lose father. Linger kept struggling in Hua Yifei's arms, her face filled with despair and pain. Don't make me hate you. The word hate you made Hua Yifei's heart tremble. Since she was young, Ling had always liked to stick to him, but she had never said that she hated him. Linger, this is Uncle's decision. It's useless for us to stop him. If you go forward, you'll only get hurt. Hua Yifei's heart ached. How could he let his uncle sacrifice himself? It was a pity that they had no other choice now. No! Seeing that Jun Xian had already walked in front of the Green Thunder Clan elder, Linger's voice was hoarse as she shouted. Chao Yueqin, whose face was originally filled with fear, now had a hint of hope on her face. As long as his uncle was willing to die, he would be able to live. Uncle, thank you. I will inherit the Jun family in your place and accompany my grandfather. Before Grandpa Jun could confirm Chao Yueqin's identity, he had already determined that she was the daughter of the Jun family's eldest daughter. So, who else would the inheritance of the Jun family be given to if not her? Could it be Jun Linger? She was only the daughter of Grandpa Jun's disciple. How could she be compared to the real miss of the Jun family? Even now, Chao Yueqin still could not believe that she had turned from a sparrow to a phoenix. From a powerless person, she had become the miss of the Jun family. Chapter 15-16. Jun Linger's heart trembled as she glared at Chao Yueqin angrily. If it wasn't for her, the Jun family wouldn't have fallen into such a passive situation. Her father wouldn't have sacrificed his life to save her. But now, not only was she not guilty, she even dared to say such things? If Chao Yueqin could hear Jun Linger's thoughts, she would definitely scoff. Guilty? Why should she feel guilty? Even though Jun Xian was the head of the Jun family, he was only Grandpa Jun's disciple. The Jun family raised them. Shouldn't they contribute? Why should she be grateful? Linger, she is Grandpa Jun's granddaughter. We can't do anything about it. Hua Yifei's voice rang in Jun Linger's ears, bringing her back to her senses from her monstrous rage. That's right, this woman is Grandpa's granddaughter. So what if I'm angry? I've seen Grandpa's pain all these years. How can I bear to let Grandpa Jun continue to suffer? Father! Jun Linger was no longer as impulsive as before. She glared hatefully at the people in front of Jun Xian. I swear, I will take revenge for these people who harmed you. She would not let go of any of the forces present. Humph! The elder of the Green Thunder Clan snorted, his face expressionless. Jun Xian, can you make your move now? Jun Xian closed his eyes gently. After a long time he opened them again. Yifei, you and Linger have been engaged since you were young. Now, I want you to promise me that you will treat Linger wholeheartedly. You will not let her down. You will not have any concubines. Can you do that? As a father, the only thing he could not let go of was his daughter before he died. Uncle, Hua Yifei's eyes reddened. I swear that I will not let Linger down. I will not have any other woman besides her. Good, then I can rest assured. Jun Xian's face lit up with a smile. With a wave of his hand, a long sword appeared in his hand before he gently closed his eyes. Father! Jun Linger's voice was lacerated as her body trembled violently. Endless hatred and rage filled her tiny heart. Jun Xian wanted to turn around and take another look at his daughter, but he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to bear to leave because of this. Thus, he forcefully restrained his urge to turn around and placed the long sword on his neck. Brother Xian! Suddenly, an anxious female voice came from within the Jun family. Jun Xian's body trembled, but he didn't say anything in the end. At the door, the beautiful woman leaned against the door and looked at Jun Xian with a pained expression. She wanted to go up and stop her husband, but a wave of powerlessness washed over her and she almost collapsed. Brother Xian, don't. This wife and daughter used to be Jun Xian's everything. Now, he had no choice but to abandon them, just to repay his master's kindness. What are you waiting for? The Blue Thunder Clan elder's face was filled with impatience. If you don't make a move, I'll kill this girl. Let her go, and I'll kill myself right in front of you. Jun Xian glanced at the Green Thunder Clan elder and said in a deep voice. After saying that, he began to move. The Jun family is really lively. I wonder if I'm late? At this moment, a lazy voice came from the sky, causing Jun Xian's hand to tremble slightly. However, he still did not raise his head. The long sword in his hand had already drawn a line across his neck. You're giving in because of a little threat? Is this all the prestige of the Jun family's master? Boom! In an instant, countless vines extended from the ground and snatched the long sword from Jun Xian's hand before he could react. Chapter 15-17. At the same time, the Blue Thunder Elder felt his grip loosen. Chao Yueqin had been snatched away by the tree vines and was thrown towards the Jun family's side. Chao Yueqin screamed in fright. She hurriedly closed her eyes. Suddenly, She felt herself falling into an embrace. Only then did she carefully open her eyes. What greeted her eyes was a handsome face. The man was dressed in a brocade robe, gentle and elegant. He was the dream lover of most women. Even the object of her love was not half as good as this man. Chao Yueqin blushed at the thought and lowered her head shyly. However, after Hua Yifei rescued Chao Yueqin, he placed her to one side and did not spare her a glance from beginning to end. His eyes were on June Linger the whole time. Chao Yueqin cursed in her heart. I am the real lady of the June family. What is this June Linger? With Grandpa June's love for his daughter, he will definitely dote on my granddaughter. At that time, Grandpa June will definitely order June Linger to break off the engagement with him. Chao Yueqin was in a good mood. She was no longer the same as before. No one could pressure her anymore. In the void, the woman in white slowly stood there. Her slightly raised eyebrows were filled with arrogance and domineeringness. It's you. June Linger stared blankly at Yun Luofeng. I heard that you've already died in the hands of the witch demon tribe? Ling, do you know this lady? Jun Xian was overjoyed to see Yun Luofeng save Chao Yueqin. He asked after hearing June Linger's words. Father, this is the genius I told you about before. June Linger's heart relaxed. She's also grandfather's adopted granddaughter. Chao Yueqin frowned. Grandpa June already had June Linger. Now he has a granddaughter? She was especially annoyed to see that June Linger was so close to her. Logically speaking, shouldn't June Linger be revolving around him? She was the young lady of the June family. Who did this granddaughter think she was? Why did he attract so much attention the moment he arrived? So it's Miss Yun, Jun Xian smiled and cupped his fists. Many thanks for Miss Yun's help. I wonder if Miss Yun has come to the June family this time. I'm here to look for Grandpa June, Yun Luofeng muttered to himself for a while before speaking. The old master is not at the June residence at the moment. If the young lady is willing, you can wait for me at the June residence. I believe that the old master will return very soon once he hears of your arrival. Jun Xian had never met Yun Luofeng before, but he had mentioned Linger. Moreover, from her words, he could tell that Linger admired and respected this girl. If she were to stay in the June family, Linger might be able to learn from her. Humph! The elder of the Blue Thunder clan snorted coldly and interrupted the two of them with an ugly expression. His gloomy eyes swept over Yun Luofeng. Young lady, if you dare to help the June family, you'll be making an enemy out of our Blue Thunder clan. You better think about the consequences. Blue Thunder clan? Yun Luofeng smiled faintly. The June family was defeated by them. Why would they need to use such a method to threaten them if they could defeat the June family? You! The elder of the Blue Thunder clan trembled with anger. His plan was about to succeed, but it was disrupted by this damned girl. He went from being active to being passive. How could he let go of this hatred so easily? Chapter 15:18. Yun Luofeng turned a deaf ear to him and walked down from the sky. There was a long distance between the sky and the ground, but everyone only saw her take a few steps and she was already in front of June Linger. Perhaps it was because they had not seen each other for a long time, but June Linger was very happy. Even she did not know that when she first saw Yun Luofeng, she could not help but want to be close to her. There seemed to be something about this young girl that attracted her. Miss Yun, Jun Xian ignored the furious elder of the Blue Thunder clan and smiled at Yun Luofeng. You are a guest, so I will let Linger take you to rest. Let the June family handle the matters here. Yun Luofeng nodded slightly. She had no intention of getting involved in the June family's fight, but she could not let Jun Xian die here before she found out the relationship between the June family and June Fengling, Blue Thunder clan. Jun Xian sneered and turned to look at the elder of the Blue Thunder clan. You took advantage of my master's absence to cause trouble for the June family, and then you captured the lost bloodline of the June family. I will definitely settle this score with you. The faces of the cultivators who besieged the June family had already changed. They did not expect this to happen. Elder, something bad has happened. Suddenly, an anxious voice came from behind. A disciple of the Blue Thunder clan stumbled over, his face full of panic. I just received news that the Fire Wind sect and other major sects have arrived and are about to charge into the city. What? The elder of the Blue Thunder clan turned pale. If it was just the June family, they would have no problem escaping even if they could not win. But now that the Fire Wind sect and other major sects had come to help the June family, they would be destroyed. Run! Gritting his teeth, the elder of the Blue Thunder clan gave the order and ran out of the city. Unfortunately, before he could leave June City, countless silhouettes floated in the air and surrounded them. It was impossible to escape. Lord June, we're late. Please don't take offense, Lord June, haha. The person in the lead was a handsome middle-aged man. His laughter was hearty and heroic, resounding in the sky above June City. The June family had many enemies. But at the same time, there were even more people who had received help from Grandpa June. Now that these people had heard about the June family's misfortune, they had moved out in full force to protect the June family. You guys came at the right time. Please help me kill these people. June Xian laughed and said, Don't worry, Lord June. We won't let any of them leave. Hua! The handsome middle-aged man waved his hand. In an instant, the crowd behind him surged forward and launched a fierce attack on the forces of the Cyan Thunder clan. Countless people would die in this battle. Rivers of blood would flow, but even more people would only have themselves to blame. Yun Luofeng didn't even spare a glance at the battle in the city. Instead, he followed June Ling-er into the June family's residence. Ling-er Yifei. The beautiful woman who had been leaning against the door hurriedly walked towards the two of them and tightly held their hands. After making sure that there were no problems with their bodies, she let out a sigh of relief. She turned towards Yun Luofeng and smiled slightly. Miss, it was all thanks to you that my husband survived. It was no trouble at all. Yun Luofeng smiled faintly. His tone was neither humble nor arrogant, making anyone who heard it feel comfortable. Chapter 15:19. Mother. June Ling-er supported her mother's body. You are not feeling well. I will let my cousin help you back to your room to rest. I have to entertain Lady Yun and... June Ling-er paused and turned to look at the disdainful Chao Yuaqin. She frowned. However, she understood Chao Yuaqin's identity. Thus, no matter how dissatisfied she was, she could only endure it. And this Chao. I am the legitimate young lady of the June family. You should call me eldest young lady, but since you are my grandpa's adopted granddaughter, you can just call me elder sister. June Ling-er's face darkened. Her eyes were filled with anger. She had followed her grandfather for so many years, but she had never been so angry. Ling-er. The beautiful woman hurriedly grasped Ling-er's hand and gave her a meaningful look. Her beautiful eyes stared at Chao Yuaqin with a smile. You've suffered in the outside world all these years. In a moment, I'll have the servant girls arrange for you to rest. She only let the servant take Chao Yuaqin to rest and did not let her daughter entertain her. It was obvious that Chao Yuaqin and Yun Luofeng were very different in her heart. If Chao Yuaqin was not the granddaughter of Old Master June, she would not be so polite to her. However, Chao Yuaqin did not sense the difference between the two of them. She continued to raise her chin like an arrogant peacock. June Ling-er stomped her foot angrily as she watched the servant take Chao Yuaqin away. Mother, how could someone like grandfather have a granddaughter like this? In comparison, she preferred Yun Luofeng. The beautiful woman smiled. Your grandfather will have to come back to verify whether she is the real young lady of the June family. For now, you should just go along with her. Mother, you mean? June Ling-er's eyes flickered and a bright smile appeared on her adorable face. We did not see the jade token, right? Does the Blue Thunder clan think she is? In any case, I trust your grandfather more. Everything will be decided when he comes back. June Ling-er's smile was very lively and her eyes were as clear as a spring. Mother, I do not want Chao Yuaqin to be a member of the June family. Moreover, if she didn't see wrongly, when her cousin went to save her, that woman's eyes lit up as she looked at her cousin and almost pounced on him. The more June Ling-er thought about it, the angrier she got. She couldn't help but glare at Hua Yifei. Hua Yifei didn't know what he had done wrong, and his face was full of confusion. He was afraid that June Ling-er's anger would reach him, so he hurriedly held the beautiful woman's hand and said softly, Aunt, let me help you to rest. The beautiful woman glanced at the two of them. She wanted to say something, but she didn't say anything. She just smiled and said, All right, I'll have to trouble you, Yifei. After the two of them left, June Ling-er held onto Yun Luofeng's arm in a very familiar manner. The corners of her lips curled into a smile as bright as the sun. Although this is the second time we've met, I like you very much. How about I call you Big Sister Yun in the future? Yun Luofeng looked up and met a pair of eyes that were as clear as water. The young lady in front of him was like a fairy of the forest, pure like a piece of white paper. All right. She wasn't a cold person, and she wouldn't push people 1,000 miles away. If the other party gave her a good feeling, what harm was there in being friends? However, there were very few friends that she could befriend. In this mainland, there were only a few of them. Chapter 15:20. Sister Yun, I'll take you to your room to rest. After June Linger finished speaking, she secretly whispered in Yun Luofeng's ear. Just now, the servant girl took Chao Yueqin to the West Court, so I'll arrange for you to stay in the East Court. I can see that you don't like Chao Yueqin, so you definitely want to stay far away from her. Yun Luofeng smiled wickedly, but his voice was lazy. Then let's go. After June Linger arranged for Yun Luofeng, the battle in the city was almost over. Suddenly, a servant girl hurried over and reported. Miss, the master wants you to go to the study. Father is looking for me? June Linger pursed her lips. He must be asking about my grandfather's whereabouts. But now that Sister Yun is here, grandfather will definitely come back. Others might not know, but she knew very well that Grandpa June had killed his way into the Poison Valley because he thought that Yun Luofeng had been killed. He had almost destroyed the entire Poison Valley. After that, he had grieved for a few years. If he knew that she was still alive, he would definitely rush back to see her. Thinking of this, June Linger quickly walked towards the study. Inside the study, a middle-aged man stood with his hands behind his back. He stood calmly in the sunlight. When he heard the door open, he slowly came back to his senses. His warm gaze fell on the young girl who walked in. Linger, you're here? The middle-aged man raised his eyebrows. I received news that your grandfather is on his way to the June family. He should be back in a few days. Grandfather is back. June Linger's heart leaped with joy. Her eyes shone with a strange light. Father, since grandfather has returned, why did you call me here? June Xian smiled bitterly. Linger, I know you don't like Chao Yueqin, but she is your grandfather's granddaughter. Even if you don't like her, don't provoke her. Father, Mother said that it's not certain whether she is grandfather's granddaughter or not. June Linger's little face puffed up. And I really hate her. June Xian raised his hand and caressed June Linger's head. He sighed helplessly. With those people from the Blue Thunder clan around, Chao Yueqin's identity might very well be real. Furthermore, even if we can't determine whether she's real or not, we still can't be rude to her. What if she's real? June Linger lowered her head and said in an aggrieved tone, compared to Chao Yueqin, I like Big Sister Yun more. If only Big Sister Yun was Grandpa's granddaughter. That's not just what you think. I also think that Miss Yun is a good person. Otherwise, your grandfather would not have shamelessly accepted her as his granddaughter. June Xian smiled bitterly and shook his head. Unfortunately, we can only dream about such things. After all, she is not of the June family's blood. I understand, June Linger sighed. I won't provoke her. If she comes to provoke me, I will tolerate her. After saying this, she turned around and walked out of the study. June Xian's heart skipped a beat. How could his heart not ache when he saw his daughter enduring such grievances? However, he was indebted to his master, so he could not hurt his master's feelings. After leaving the study, June Linger went to the east courtyard to look for Yun Luofeng, who knew that when she turned a corner, she could not help but bump into someone. She could not help but take a few steps back. Ah! Chao Yueqin screamed. When she saw that the person in front of her was June Linger, she was so angry that she raised her hand and wanted to slap her. June Linger's face darkened and she suddenly grabbed Chao Yueqin's arm. There was a hint of coldness in her clear voice. What do you want? Chapter 15:21. Humph. Chao Yueqin snorted coldly, her face filled with disdain. You bumped into me first. Shouldn't I teach you a lesson? You. June Linger was so angry that her whole body was trembling, but June Xian had already spoken, so no matter how angry she was, she could only restrain herself. The two of us collided, and it's not just my fault. Are you saying that you're not wrong? Chao Yueqin hadn't expected that June Linger would dare to refute her. She was taken aback for a moment, and then rebuked her angrily. I'm the legitimate young lady of the June family. Who do you think you are? You don't have the June family's blood in your veins. The June family has raised you for so many years, yet you don't know how to be grateful. You even dare to teach me a lesson. It's a pity that I've suffered outside for so many years, and now that I've finally returned to the June family, I'm being bullied by that son of a whore. After saying this, Chow Yue-chin burst into tears as if she had been greatly wronged. If June Linger was the old master's biological granddaughter, Chow Yue-chin would never have dared to be so arrogant. It was because June Linger's father was the old master's disciple that she dared to be so presumptuous. She believed that an outsider could never be compared to her own flesh and blood. Even if old Master June was in the June family, he would certainly be on her side. How dare you scold my mother? June Linger angrily raised her leg and kicked Chow Yue-chin. If Chow Yue-chin had only scolded her, perhaps she would have endured it. However, she had actually scolded her mother. How could she tolerate this? Miss Linger. Just as June Linger's leg was about to land on Chow Yue-chin's chest, a sudden shout was heard. Following that, her leg was firmly grabbed by a hand. Grand Elder, let go of me. I want to teach this woman a lesson. June Linger's eyes were bloodshot, and her eyes were burning with anger. Linger! The old man's voice was filled with anxiety as sweat dripped from his forehead. He's still the flesh and blood of the June family. No matter how many mistakes he has made, you shouldn't have attacked him. In truth, June Linger was the only child in the June family, so she was doted on by all the elders. On top of that, she had an excellent personality, and was lively and quick-witted. So all the elders spoiled her to the bone. But, no matter how much they loved June Linger, they could not allow her to harm Chow Yue-chin. Linger, have you forgotten how much the old patriarch has missed his lost daughter all these years? Do you want to make her sad? The great elder tried his best to persuade him. His eyes filled with heartache. The rims of June Linger's eyes reddened even more, and there were faint tears in them. But she just insulted my mother and called her a whore. The great elder was stunned and frowned. He didn't have a good impression of Chow Yue-chin. Even if the head of the June family wasn't old man June's flesh and blood, he was still the head of the June family. However, she was so arrogant as soon as she arrived, and even insulted the madam. Linger. The great elder sighed. Even though I want to protect you, I can't do anything about Chow Yue-chin's status. Why don't we just forget about this? June Linger's body froze. Her mother had been humiliated, and she still wanted her to let it go? No, I can't let this go. Chow Yue-chin walked out from behind the great elder. She held her head high and puffed out her chest, looking down at June Linger arrogantly. This woman bumped into me and even tried to hit me. I want her to apologize to me. Miss Chow. The great elder's face was not looking too good. Don't push your luck. Linger is also the granddaughter of the old patriarch. The old patriarch watched her grow up. Their relationship is just as strong. Chapter 1522. Chow Yue-chin smiled disdainfully. How can a granddaughter be compared to her own flesh and blood? Besides, do you know how I spent all these years outside? My biological mother died after giving birth to me. If it weren't for my adoptive mother, I wouldn't be alive today. But my adoptive father's family was weak, and I was ridiculed outside. A person like June Linger, who has no right to be my wife, has occupied my position and is being doted on. What did you say? The great elder's impatient expression turned into one of anger. You said that the old master's daughter is dead? Who killed a member of the June family? Chow Yue-chin snorted. It was Grandpa June who abandoned my mother. My mother was seriously ill and had no money to treat her. Otherwise, she wouldn't have passed away after giving birth to me. Her words indeed made herself sound very miserable. The great elder, who was originally very dissatisfied with her, was now rather sympathetic towards her. It was no wonder that she had such a bad opinion of the June family and June Linger. She had suffered so much outside. And all of this was caused by the June family. Linger. The great elder turned to June Linger. June Linger clenched her fists tightly. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. Great elder, do you want me to apologize? Linger, our June family, caused her to suffer so much. Just take this as an apology for abandoning her and her mother for so many years. The great elder turned away. He didn't dare to look at June Linger's despairing eyes. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to bear it. June Linger closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Then she opened her eyes. I understand. Her eyes gradually fell on Chow Yue-chin's proud face. She had to use all her strength to restrain the urge to punch her. I'm sorry. She bit her lips. Her face was pale. Is this enough? Chow Yue-chin smiled proudly. Junling, you must remember that I'm the real miss of the Jun family. Everything I've done is what the Jun family owes me. Junling, didn't reply. She quickly walked past Chow Yue-chin and headed for the east courtyard. Tears finally flowed down uncontrollably, splashing in the air. The great elder stared at Junlinger's departing figure, his heart wrenched with pain. He took a deep breath. His cloudy eyes turned to Chow Yue-chin. The old lord has always doted on Linger. He has been grooming her since she was a child. I hope you won't go too far. Otherwise, the Jun family will owe you a debt, and the elders will drive you out. Chow Yue-chin scoffed disapprovingly. She twisted her tiny waist and walked past the great elder. From the beginning to the end, she did not even look him in the eye. Bang! In the room, Yun Luofeng sat at the table, holding a book in her hands and flipping through it. But in the next moment, the door to the room was pushed open. She raised her head and saw Junlinger, whose face was covered in tears, walking into the room. Wow! Junlinger finally could not hold it in any longer and burst into tears. She wanted to vent all the grievances she had suffered today. Yun Luofeng put down the book in his hand, raised his eyebrows and asked, What happened? Sister Yun, Junlinger stopped crying and said while sniffling, Is the Jun family's bloodline really that important? It wasn't my fault. Why did you force me to apologize? If that woman hadn't humiliated my mother, I wouldn't have hit her. Chapter 1523. Hearing this, Yun Luofeng immediately guessed that Junling, must have been bullied by Chow Yue-chin. And the Jun family, because of their bloodline, stood on Chow Yue-chin's side. Let's go. Yun Luofeng stretched lazily and walked out of the door. Sister Yun, where are you going? Taking a walk. Yun Luofeng only said these two words, and without saying anything else, she walked out the door. From afar, she could hear the sound of argument coming from the front. The first to come out was a man's gentle and refined voice, but this time, there was a hint of anger in his voice. Chow Yue-chin, don't you think you've gone too far? Linger is the granddaughter of the old master. Aren't you afraid that your actions will cause public anger? Master Hua, in comparison, Chow Yue-chin's tone was bashful, and there was a hint of unwillingness. You don't have to worry about me. My status is more important than Junling. How could the Jun family vent their anger on me because of an outsider? Yun Luofeng paused, a hint of a smile on her face. Guess, is this Chow Yue-chin really stupid, or is she pretending to be? Hua Yifei had gone to get even for Junling, but in her mouth, it was because he was worried about her? Could it be that there was something wrong with her brain? Junling subconsciously pulled Yun Luofeng. Sister Yun, let's go for a walk somewhere else. I don't want to see Chow Yue-chin. Yun Luofeng's smile was evil. She raised her hand to push Junlinger's hand away, and walked in the direction of Hua Yifei and Chow Yue-chin. In the garden, Chow Yue-chin's face was full of shyness, while Hua Yifei's face was full of anger, his clenched fists cracking. If not for the other party's status, perhaps this fist would have landed on her head. What are you doing here? As she looked up, Chow Yue-chin saw Yun Luofeng and Junling walking over, her long shapely eyebrows furrowed, her tone impatient. Can't you see that I'm on a date with Master Hua? Her words were obviously meant to provoke Junlinger. After all, she had already made some inquiries. Hua Yifei had mourned for his mother since he was a child. He had come to the Jun family to seek refuge with his aunt, and had even set up an engagement with Junlinger. For an orphan like Hua Yifei who had no parents, he must have gotten close to Junlinger in order to curry favor with the Jun family. Her status was higher than Junlinger, so Hua Yifei would definitely abandon Junlinger and marry her. Even if Hua Yifei didn't have such thoughts, when Grandpa Jun returned, she could ask him to force them to separate. Would Junling dare to disobey? Linger. Hua Yifei's heart tightened. He hurriedly walked to Junlinger's side and hurriedly explained, It's definitely not like what she said. I'm here to settle the score with her. I know. How could she not know her cousin's character? This man would never betray her. Hua Yifei heaved a sigh of relief. He was really worried that Junlinger would fall for this slut's provocation. Humph. Chow Yue-chin saw that Hua Yifei only had Junlinger in his eyes, and her face immediately fell. The two of you are only my grandfather's adopted granddaughters. How dare you be so rude when you see me, a legitimate young lady? Do you believe that I won't let the Jun family chase you out? Originally, Chow Yue-chin had insulted the two of them in front of them. But she had courted death by running to Yun Luofeng, pointing at their noses and scolding them. And so, with a bang, the woman in snow-white clothes suddenly raised her leg and kicked Chow Yue-chin's chest. Chapter 15:24. The entire garden fell into silence. Junlinger covered her small mouth in shock. Her face was flushed red from being too excited. She felt extremely refreshed in her heart, as if she had vented out her anger. The servants and maids only reacted after a loud bang. They hurriedly ran towards the screaming Junlinger. But it was unknown whether it was intentional or not, but the servant girl who was leading the group suddenly stepped on her right foot and fell towards Chow Yue-chin's body with a plop. Bang! Chow Yue-chin's head was hit by the servant girl. The pain made her see stars. She recovered with great difficulty and shouted angrily, "You damned servant girl! Do you know how to walk?" The little servant girl looked as if she had received an extreme shock. Her small face was deathly white as she said in fear, "Miss Chow, this servant did not do it on purpose. I was too worried about you and accidentally fell. Please forgive me, Mississippi." Chow Yue-chin's face was full of anger. Just as she was about to speak, another cry came from the side. She instinctively wanted to dodge, but the servant girl who had just fallen on her had not left. This servant did not fall on Chow Yue-chin. After all, men and women were different. Chow Yue-chin was the blood of the Jun family. So he only accidentally fell on Chow Yue-chin's slender arm. Chow Yue-chin was in so much pain that tears streamed down her face. Her eyes were red, but she could not say a word. The other maids and servants also followed suit. They all accidentally hurt Chow Yue-chin and immediately knelt down on the ground, kowtowing fiercely to admit their mistakes. It was obvious that even the servants of the Jun family could not stand Chow Yue-chin's arrogance. Compared to the lively and quick-witted Junlinger, they naturally chose to stand on Junlinger's side. At worst, they would just be punished. The Jun family was quite reasonable. Under normal circumstances, they would not torture or kill servants unless they had committed a crime of betrayal. From this, it could be seen that Junlinger was very well liked in the Jun family. Otherwise, the servants would not have taken such a risk to help her vent her anger. Junlinger's eyes were filled with gratitude. How could she not understand that these people were helping her vent her anger? "What are you all doing?" Suddenly, a cold shout was heard. The servants hurriedly straightened their bodies and knelt on the ground in unison. Jun Xian, who was dressed in embroidered clothes, strode over. His expression was cold and stern, and he exuded an imposing aura even without being angry. Standing beside him was the first elder who had appeared earlier. At this moment, his brows were tightly furrowed, and his cold eyes swept over the servants who were kneeling in a circle. "Who can tell me what's going on?" Jun Xian asked coldly, looking around. In fact, he had a pretty good understanding of the Jun family's servants. The Jun family's people would not do anything to offend their superiors, unless the other party did something intolerable. Wow! Chow Yue-chin could finally heave a sigh of relief. She burst into tears. She wanted to stand up from the ground, but she felt her entire body aching, as if her bones were about to fall apart. "Your Jun family is bullying us." She clutched her arm tightly. Even her face had turned green. It was obvious that the servants had done something unscrupulous. Jun Xian glanced at Junlinger and Yun Luofeng, who were standing to the side. His brows furrowed slightly. He was about to open his mouth to ask his daughter when Chow Yue-chin's malicious voice suddenly came from the side. Chapter 15:25. Jun Xian, as the head of the Jun family, you condone your evil servants? Chow Yue-chin trembled with anger. These lowly servants dared to raise their hands against me. I want them to pay with their lives. Jun Xian's frown deepened. Miss Chow, even if you are my master's descendant, I am the head of the Jun family. You calling me by my name is disgraceful. Furthermore, the Jun family has its own rules. They deserve to be punished for their wrongdoings, but not death. Why? Hearing this, Chow Yue-chin immediately jumped up. Why don't they die? As a slave, you should be loyal to your master. A slave who dares to even hit his master should be hacked into pieces and die without a complete corpse. Seemingly angered by Chow Yuechin's words, one of the servants mustered up her courage and retorted, "This servant's masters are the old master and Miss Ling, Look at these lowly things." Chow Yuechin pointed her finger at the servant, her eyes looking as if she wanted to eat someone alive. "Fine, if you don't kill her I will. I want to see if this slut dares to resist me." Whoosh! After Chow Yuechin finished speaking, she pulled out her sword from the guard's hand and walked angrily towards the maidservant. "Slut, since you want to vent your anger on this freeloader Jun Ling, then I will kill you and let you know who your master is." The servant was so scared that her face turned pale and she quickly closed her eyes. "Stop!" Jun Xian flew into a rage and was about to step forward to stop her when a white robe flashed in front of the servant. With a kick, Chow Yuechin, who had been standing in front of the servant, was sent flying again, the sword in her hand falling to the ground. Chow Yuechin spat out a mouthful of blood, her eyes blazing. "I haven't even settled the score with you just now, and you have the guts to attack me again. Who do you think you are? You are only my grandfather's adopted granddaughter. I am the real miss of the Jun family. You eat and sleep in my house, and you still dare to hurt me?" Under the gentle breeze, the woman's white robes fluttered in the wind. Her peerless face revealed a slight smile. But her smile was very cold, so cold that it sent chills down one's spine. "I am only teaching you a lesson for Grandpa Jun." "For Grandpa Jun?" Jun Linger was startled and looked up at Yun Luofeng in surprise. She had been curious from the start. Why would a woman like Yun Luofeng come to Chow Yuechin to avenge her? So, she was actually doing this for her grandfather. However, apart from accepting her as his granddaughter, Grandpa had not helped her in any way. Why did she care so much about Grandpa? Suddenly, Jun Linger seemed to recall something and came to a sudden realization. Yes. Back then, her grandfather thought that she was dead and barged into the Poison Valley to avenge her. Even though the Poison Valley was not his grandfather's match, it was still a force of the Central Continent. Sister Yun was not aware of the relationship between the Central Continent's Continent Lord Mansion and grandfather. Therefore, she must have assumed that grandfather had offended the Central Continent's forces because of her. That was why she had stepped out to protect him at this time. Jun Linger was a little touched in her heart, but more than that, she felt sad. Why wasn't such a perfect big sister Yun her grandfather's granddaughter? It had to be that damn Chow Yuechin. Hee. Chow Yuechin sneered and said sarcastically, "You're an outsider, yet you say you're teaching me a lesson for my grandfather? I don't know what gave you the courage to say something like that." Slap. Just as Chow Yuechin stood up, Yun Luofeng appeared in front of Chow Yuechin in a flash. The crisp sound of a slap resounded in the garden. Chapter 1526. This slap was given to you for Jun Ling. Jun Xian was dumbfounded. He never thought that Yun Luofeng would teach Chow Yuechin a lesson in front of him. But he had to admit that it was very satisfying. "Miss Yun," Great Elder frowned slightly, "Miss Chow is still a member of the Jun family. No matter how much she has done wrong, it doesn't seem right for you to treat her like this." When Chow Yuechin heard Great Elder speak up for her, she immediately reacted and glared hatefully at Yun Luofeng. "Great Elder, I want you to expel this woman from the Jun family immediately. My Jun family cannot be tarnished by her. I'll see who dares." Jun Ling snorted and stood in front of Yun Luofeng, her cute little face full of anger. "Father, Sister Yun hit Chow Yuechin for my sake, and I've already listened to you and tolerated her, but what did she say? She called me a whore. She called me a son of a whore." Jun Xian's face turned cold and he glared at Chow Yuechin. "You scolded my wife." Chow Yuechin's heart trembled slightly, but she still stubbornly said, "So what if I did? I'm grandfather's granddaughter. What can you do to me?" Jun Xian clenched his fists tightly and punched angrily. His fist brought with it a swift gust of wind as it quickly arrived in front of Chow Yuechin. "Master." Great Elder's expression changed greatly as he hurriedly shouted. Chow Yuechin was also frightened. In her opinion, Jun Xian was willing to sacrifice himself to save her. He would never do anything to her. But she had underestimated Madame Jun's position in Jun Xian's heart. However, in the end, Jun Xian's fist stopped in front of Chow Yuechin's pale little face. He fiercely retracted his fist and said in a cold voice, "Today's matter ends here. Everything will be dealt with when Master returns. If Master really lets her stay, Then I will abandon my position as master and leave with my wife and daughter. Even if I don't return for the rest of my life, it's better than letting my wife and daughter suffer here. He fiercely flung his sleeves and turned to leave. But his trembling fist still revealed the anger in his heart. Great Elder, seeing that Great Elder was about to leave, Chao Yuaqin quickly called out to him, "You're leaving just like that? Are you not going to avenge me after I was bullied?" The Great Elder sighed softly. "I warned you before not to push your luck. If you didn't stir up trouble, how could this have happened? So you reap what you sow. Forget it. Let's wait for the old patriarch to return first." If Jun Xian were to leave, the Jun family would have no foothold on the continent after the old master passes away. Therefore, the Great Elder couldn't help but wonder if it was a good or bad thing to find the granddaughter of the old patriarch. Chao Yuaqin stomped her foot angrily. She was just about to continue cursing when she caught a glimpse of Yun Luofeng's eyes. She was so scared that her entire body trembled. She quickly shut her mouth and left in a hurry. When the Great Elder was around, this woman had dared to attack her. Now that the Great Elder had left, wouldn't she be even more ruthless? Therefore, it was better for her to leave this troublesome place as soon as possible. When her grandfather returned, he would make these people feel better. "Let's go." Yun Luofeng curled the corners of her lips lazily. She slowly turned around and walked lazily in the direction of her bedroom. "Sister Yun, aren't you going to continue your stroll?" Junlinger blinked and asked. Chapter 15:27. "No, I'm tired. I want to rest." Yun Luofeng's wicked voice made Junling, or even more certain that she didn't come here to take a stroll, but to avenge her. Hua Yifei looked in the direction Yun Luofeng left and said, "If Miss Yun was grandfather's granddaughter, I don't think so many things would have happened." Junlinger's face was full of disappointment. What a pity. Logically speaking, only someone like Sister Yun is fit to be grandfather's granddaughter. Why would there be Chao Yuaqin? Hua Yifei shook his head with a wry smile. Because of Chao Yuaqin's arrival, the Jun family was destined to never have a day of peace. He was right. Because of Chao Yuaqin's arrival, not only the Jun family, but even Jun City had no days of peace. The descendants of the aristocratic families in Jun City somehow heard about the conflict between Chao Yuaqin and Junlinger. So those young people who were pestering Junling all flocked to Chao Yuaqin's side and tried to curry favor with her, wanting nothing more than to kneel down and lick her boots. Junling had long known that these aristocratic family disciples were the type to flatter Chu Yen. Therefore, she had never treated them well. But even so, when she saw those people surrounding Chao Yuaqin, her heart was burning with anger. Especially when Junling was about to take Yun Luofeng to a restaurant, she happened to see a handsome young man following behind Chao Yuaqin like a pug. She couldn't help but look down on Junling. Some people used to look down on others because they were the miss of the Jun family. Now, the real flesh and blood of the Jun family has returned. Let's see if grandfather Jun will still dote on her alone. Because of her family background, Chao Yuaqin was often ridiculed. So how could she be as glorious as she was today? She raised her chin and proudly looked at Yun Luofeng and Junling walking over with a contemptuous smile. "That's because grandfather lost my mother when I was young and was too sad. So he treated her father as a substitute for my mother and treated her as me. Now that I'm back, of course she doesn't have a place in the Jun family. Besides, I sent a letter to my grandfather yesterday, and he promised me that he would drive Junling out." There was no such thing as sending a message. She only deliberately lied in order to get these people to help her mock Junling. Otherwise, as the young lady of the Jun family, even if she was only the daughter of the old man's disciple, Junlinger's status was still noble. Only by chasing her out would these people not fear Junlinger. Nonsense. Junlinger was so angry that her face turned red. Grandfather wouldn't do such a thing. "TSK, there's nothing I can do if you don't believe me." Chao Yuaqin shrugged. "Everything will be clear when your grandfather comes back. Let's go." Junling clenched her fists angrily, her eyes burning with anger. However, when she saw a woman in blue hurriedly following Chao Yuaqin out of the restaurant, she was immediately dumbfounded. "Yirong, why are you?" Yirong kept her head down. When she reached Junlinger's side, she paused slightly and said, "I'm sorry, Ling-er. My family needs to rely on the Jun family. I only became friends with you because you were the young lady of the Jun family. Now, I have no other choice." After saying this, She continued to follow behind Chao Yueqin with her head lowered. Chapter 1528. Junling Er's eyes reddened. You said before that you didn't become friends with me because of my identity as the young lady of the Jun family. You were so confident at the time, and you showed disdain for my identity. You even mocked those who tried to get close to me because of it, but now you... Yi Rong paused and her voice was apologetic. Ling every man for himself. I also need to think about my family. I hope you can understand. Every man for himself, and heaven and earth destroy him? Junling staggered a little and almost fell to the ground. Fortunately, Yun Luofeng supported her shoulder. It's not bad to see a person clearly through these things. You should feel lucky. Lucky? Junling bit her lip. Yes, she should feel lucky. If it weren't for this, she wouldn't have been able to see this woman's true colors. Junling Chao Yueqin snorted disdainfully. Do you see clearly? Your friend has become my follower. Your fiancé will be my man sooner or later. Hua Yifei's family was poor, but he was talented. With his talent and looks, she wouldn't be buried. Suddenly, a cold, evil gaze swept over. The woman in white raised the corner of her lips. What? Do you want to get beaten up again? Chao Yueqin's body trembled. Under Yun Luofeng's gaze, she felt cold all over and gritted her teeth. Humph, when my grandfather returns, he'll deal with you sooner or later. Let's go. With that, she walked toward the street without looking back. Miss Chao. At this moment, a servant of the Jun family walked over. His manner was very respectful, but his tone was very normal, without a hint of respect. The master wants you to go. Chao Yueqin snorted and said arrogantly, Got it. Go tell him that I'll be right there. Inside the restaurant, Junling strode in, not caring about why her father was looking for Chao Yueqin. She had a stomach full of anger that couldn't be vented, so naturally, she didn't want to see Chao Yueqin again. The Jun family. Inside the house, Jun Xian saw the old man in white from afar. He was very excited. Welcome back, master. Welcome back, old master. After Jun Xian knelt down, the rest of the people followed suit. Their voices resounded in the air above the courtyard. In the void, the white-robed old man stood with his hands clasped behind his back. He had the demeanor of an immortal. As he walked down, it was as if he was walking on clouds. It was as if a path had appeared beneath his feet. I was just passing by, so I came back to take a look. I have some urgent matters to attend to in a while. Also, I heard that the Blue Thunder clan has besieged the Jun family. The old man frowned. He hadn't expected that these people would be so bold as to besiege the Jun family. That's right. Jun Xian stood up slowly. Master, your disciple has something to report. Speak. The Blue Thunder clan dared to besiege the Jun family because they captured your granddaughter, master. What? This sentence immediately made the old man fly into a rage. These people are so bold. They even dare to touch my granddaughter. My granddaughter had just escaped danger with great difficulty, but she was captured again. Where are those bastards? Have they been exterminated? He had just escaped danger, and now he was captured? Jun Xian was a little confused. He didn't understand what the old man meant. He wiped the sweat off his forehead. Those who besieged the Jun family have all died in Jun City. As for the extermination of the Jun family, it hasn't. Chapter 1529. What the hell are you people doing? Don't you know that your family is going to be exterminated? They dare to touch my granddaughter. I'll kill them 1,000 times over. Everyone blushed with shame. Old patriarch, where did that sage-like demeanor of yours go? Where's your indifference? Was that all a disguise? Oh right. Grandpa Jun suddenly thought of something. Where's my dear granddaughter? Quickly call her out to meet her grandfather. Jun Xian's mouth twitched. He wanted to say, your granddaughter is not only disobedient. She's almost turned the Jun family into a mess. At this moment, Jun Xian caught a glimpse of a figure coming from the front. He pouted. She's here. At that moment, Grandpa Jun's heart was in his throat. He kept thinking about how he should greet his granddaughter. My dear granddaughter, it was my fault last time. I didn't recognize you. How are you? Did I scare you? It seems that we are fated. Grandpa June turned his head with a smile and said the words he had prepared in his heart. Unfortunately, before he could finish his last word, he paused. It was an unfamiliar face. Whether in appearance or temperament, it was very different from his dear granddaughter. Especially the shrewd and sinister look in this woman's eyes. No matter how he looked at it, he hated it. Who is she? Grandpa June looked back at Jun Xian and asked in a cute manner. Jun Xian's mouth twitched. Master, she's your dear granddaughter. Grandpa June was stunned. This woman is my granddaughter? What the fuck? How could this woman that I hate at first sight be my dear granddaughter? On the way here, Chow Yueqin was informed that the old master had returned. Otherwise, it would have taken her a long time to return to the June family. Now, seeing the old man in front of Jun Xian, she didn't need to think too much to know that he must be the old master of the June family. She suppressed the excitement in her heart and quickly stepped forward. She tried her best to show her obedient side and said, Grandfather, you're finally back. I've been waiting for you. Mother is already dead. I only knew that I'm your granddaughter after my adoptive mother told me her identity. However, the bastards of the June family don't recognize me. Even the servants dare to bully me. The more Chow Yueqin spoke, the angrier she became. She didn't notice that the old man's face was becoming gloomy. Especially that Jun Ling. She took advantage of her position to bully others. She even said that she was in charge of the June family and asked me to get out of the June family. Grandfather, shouldn't you teach her a harsh lesson for looking down on your bloodline? Jun Xian's face changed. She did not expect that Chow Yueqin would distort the truth to such an extent. She hastily turned to look at Grandpa June, only to see that Grandpa June's face was as black as it could get, a storm seemingly brewing within his eyes. Oh no, Master is angry. Jun Xian's heart instantly turned cold. He knew that he could no longer stay in the June family. On the contrary, Chow Yueqin's expression grew increasingly smug. Who asked Jun Linger to bully her? And that Yun Luofeng deserved to die 10,000 times. Master! Jun Xian wanted to explain, but the old man suddenly raised his hand and stopped him. His aged finger pointed at Chow Yueqin and his voice was filled with obvious anger. Jun Xian, who told you that this woman is my granddaughter? Who was it? Tell him to come out and die. Jun Xian was stunned for a moment. He honestly replied, it was an elder of the Blue Thunder clan. However, he is already dead. There is no need for him to come out and die. Chapter 1530. Bang! Grandpa June angrily slapped Jun Xian's head, wishing he could beat this idiot to death. However, Jun Xian looked at Grandpa June with a wronged expression. Master, what did I do wrong? Bastard, idiot! How could this woman be my granddaughter? How could I have a granddaughter like her? Grandpa June grabbed Jun Xian's clothes and shouted angrily. Give me back my granddaughter. Give me back my granddaughter. Jun Xian's head was dizzy. He did not know what had happened, but he understood one thing. Chow Yueqin was not Master's granddaughter. The surprise came so suddenly that he did not have time to react. Grandfather, Chow Yueqin was anxious and tried to pull on Grandpa June's sleeves. I am really your granddaughter. As soon as her hand came into contact with the old man, it was violently flung away. Get lost. Don't tell me I don't even recognize my own granddaughter? Jun Xian finally regained his senses. When he heard Grandpa June's words, he could not help but ridicule him. You haven't even seen your granddaughter's face. Doesn't that mean you don't recognize her? Chow Yueqin's mind went blank as she stared blankly at Grandpa June. Am I not the flesh and blood of the June family? That's impossible. Mother would not lie to me. Besides, the jade token was verified by the Blue Thunder clan. Grandfather, Chow Yueqin returned to her senses and said in an aggrieved tone, I'm the real deal. Furthermore, my jade token has also been verified by the Blue Thunder clan. However, it has already been destroyed by them. The Blue Thunder clan is nothing. Grandpa June had always been an elegant old man. But now, he was so angry that he repeatedly cursed. It was obvious how angry he was. Even my disciple has never seen my jade token. How can the Blue Thunder clan determine that it is real just by looking at a picture? Grandpa June's chest was boiling with anger. Indeed, even if the jade token was placed in front of Jun Xian might not be able to determine its authenticity. Only Grandpa June himself would know. Grandpa June took a deep breath and said coldly, "Forget it, I can't rely on the June family for this kind of thing. This old man will go and find my granddaughter myself." "All right, call Ling back and let me see her. After I see her, I will leave again." Jun Xian hurriedly responded and ordered a guard to call Jun Linger over. He knew very well that Jun Linger did not want to see Chao Yueqin, which was why he did not call her over. Now he had to share this good news with Linger. The more Jun Xian thought about it, the more excited he became, and the corners of his mouth couldn't help but curl into a smile. At this moment, no one paid any attention to Chao Yueqin, whose face was ghastly pale. Not long after the guard returned, followed closely by two women. Grandpa Jun's face was still filled with anger. However, for the sake of his beloved granddaughter, he forcefully suppressed his anger. "Linger, you're back." The old man continued to smile as he turned to look out of the courtyard. With one look, his voice stopped abruptly, and his eyes widened in shock. "Am I seeing things?" Grandpa June rubbed his eyes forcefully and stared at the woman in white who was standing beside June Linger. His breathing suddenly quickened, and his expression was filled with excitement. That's right, excitement. Jun Xian looked at Grandpa June and thought to himself for a moment. It seemed that this girl was very important to Grandpa June, otherwise Grandpa June would not have caused trouble for the Poison Valley because of her. Now that he saw that she was still alive, he would not have such an excited expression. Chapter 1531. Father. Jun Linger did not know what had happened. She quickly walked up to Jun Xian and frowned at the pale Chao Yueqin. Her eyes flashed with confusion. However, Grandpa June's return quickly dispelled Jun Linger's doubts. She slowly walked up to Grandpa June and hesitated for a moment before saying, "Grandpa, you're back?" The girl's crisp voice pulled Grandpa June back from his excitement. He looked at Jun Linger and laughed. "Linger, are you not happy to see me? Why? You've always thrown yourself into my arms." Jun Linger was stunned. "Grandpa, Chao Yueqin said that she sent you a letter. She said that you want to expel me from the June family." "Chao Yueqin?" Grandpa June frowned. "Who is this? Do I know her?" Jun Linger blinked in confusion. She glanced at Jun Xian as if to ask what had happened. It wasn't that Jun Linger didn't ask the guard along the way, but because Jun Linger was very approachable, the guard didn't answer her question. Instead, he mysteriously told her that she would know when the time came. So Jun Linger was kept in the dark and did not know what had happened. "Master." Jun Xian looked at Chao Yueqin, who was lying on the ground. "She is the person Linger was talking about." "Bastard!" Grandpa June flew into a rage and slammed his hand on a nearby tree. "Who do you think you are? You pretended to be my granddaughter first and sent me a false message. You want to expel my granddaughter? Who gave you the courage to do this?" Chao Yueqin trembled in fear. She did not dare to say a word. Jun Linger finally reacted and threw herself into Grandpa June's arms. She looked extremely aggrieved. "Grandpa, why did you only come back now? Chao Yueqin has been making the June family a mess these days. She even insulted Mother by calling her a whore. She even said that she would expel Sister Yun and I from the June family. She said that she is the young miss of the June family, and that Sister Yun and I are just freeloaders." In the past few days, Jun Linger had suffered a lot. At this moment, she finally let out all her grievances and cried pitifully. Oh, that's right. She also wanted to kill the June family's servants. She claimed that she was the young miss of the June family, so it was only natural for her to kill some servants. The old man was shaking with anger. He pointed at Chao Yueqin but couldn't say anything. He didn't expect that a few days of delay would cause such a huge disturbance and cause his granddaughter and maternal granddaughter to suffer so much. "Jun Xian!" The old man roared, scaring Jun Xian so much that he almost knelt on the ground. He wanted to cry but had no tears. "Master, I didn't know she was fake either." "Idiot, you idiot! You didn't even realize that the real thing was right in front of you. How can there be such an idiot like you in this world?" "Master, at that time, I thought that since the Blue Thunder Clan had used her to threaten the June family, then she must be real. Who would have thought that she was a fake?" Jun Xian also felt very wronged, but he suddenly reacted in the next moment and asked in a daze, "Was she really in front of me?" "Master, what do you mean by that? Forgive your disciple for being uneducated and not understanding your words." Grandpa June snorted and turned to glare at Yun Luofeng. Little Yun, how long are you going to pretend to be a fool? At that moment, the entire June family was silent. Everyone's eyes were on Yun Luofeng. Even June Linger stopped crying. Chapter 1532. What did Grandpa June mean by that? Was he playing dumb? Yun Luofeng didn't think that Grandpa June would change the topic to him, and he couldn't help but smile. Where's the jade plate? Grandpa June extended his hand to Yun Luofeng and asked. Yun Luofeng looked at Grandpa June's thick palm and took out the jade plate from his waist and placed it in Grandpa June's palm. This. June Xian was stunned. How could there be two jade plates? Compared to the June family's confusion, Chow Yueqin's head was buzzing. She hurriedly shouted, "Hers is fake, it's fake. She must have seen my jade plate and had someone make it. Mine is the real one." Shut up. Grandpa June wasn't as polite to Chow Yueqin as he was to Yun Luofeng. He glared at her with a murderous look. "I'll deal with you later. Now shut up, otherwise, I'll make sure you lose your life right here." Chow Yueqin quickly shut her mouth and didn't dare to say another word. She only crawled on the ground and trembled. Grandpa June turned to Yun Luofeng. "Shouldn't you give me an explanation?" Yun Luofeng rubbed his nose. "When I came to the June family, I met a group of people who wanted to settle accounts with the June family. They claimed that the Blue Thunder Clan had captured the person who had the jade plate. So, I didn't dare to admit that my jade plate was real or fake." The entire June family once again fell into a state of silence. Everyone was dumbfounded. The fake thought she was the real one, and the real one thought she was the fake? Heavens, how big of a blunder is this? June Linger's initial shock had turned into excitement. Her small face was red, and she almost fainted from excitement. Sister Yun is a member of the June family, and Chow Yueqin is fake. This news is too exciting. Oh, she's so excited. Grandpa June was silent. He should have scolded both Yun Luofeng and June Xian, but how could he bear to scold Yun Luofeng? So, he vented his anger on June Xian. "You idiot. My granddaughter is in the June family. Didn't you notice after so long?" June Xian's expression became even more aggrieved. "Master, my niece didn't reveal her jade tablet, so I didn't know her identity." As soon as he finished speaking, he saw the old man's furious expression. He hurriedly changed his words. "It's all my fault. I'm an idiot. I didn't even recognize my niece. I'm really too stupid. Master, you don't have to punish me this time. I'll punish myself first. I'll give up the position of patriarch and hand it over to Lin Feng." Speaking up to here, June Xian was secretly delighted. Yun Luofeng's return was undoubtedly the best news. He could finally unload his heavy burden. "Dream on." Grandpa June glared at June Xian. "My granddaughter is so delicate, and you want to let these heavy burdens crush her to death? You're still in charge of the June family, so don't bother my granddaughter." June Xian wanted to cry. "Master, you are too biased. Moreover, this lass is clearly so fierce when she fights, yet you say she's delicate?" This. Yun Luofeng looked at the master and disciple of the June family and said with some embarrassment, "I think you are mistaken about one thing. The original owner of this jade tablet was not my mother." What? These words caused Grandpa June's expression to change. The granddaughter that he had painstakingly obtained was about to fly away? Could the heavens be so cruel? June Xian was startled and asked. "Then, do you know where the original owner of this jade tablet is? What is your relationship with her?" Hearing this, Yun Luofeng paused. "The owner of this jade tablet is my mother-in-law. Her son is my husband." Chapter 1533. With a buzzing sound, Grandpa June's mind went blank. He stared at Yun Luofeng with a stunned expression. A granddaughter had become a granddaughter-in-law? In this world, was there anything more shocking than this? "Master!" June Xian subconsciously turned his head and saw Grandpa June's ashen face. He jumped in fright and quickly walked to the old man's side. "Regardless of whether you are a granddaughter or a granddaughter-in-law, Xiao Feng is still a member of our June family." Grandpa June, who was originally in a bad mood, immediately smiled when he heard this. His disciple was right. Whether it was a granddaughter or a granddaughter-in-law, this girl was still a member of the June family. Wasn't this enough? Grandpa June slowly exhaled and walked to Yun Luofeng with a smile. "Little Yun, It seems that the fate between us is very deep. I wonder if my grandson and daughter are still around? Your daughter is still in the Wuhui continent. As for your grandson, Yun Luofeng paused, then continued, he is the Ghost Emperor. What? Grandpa Jun's expression immediately changed. My grandson is the Ghost Emperor? And back then, there were so many forces in the central continent that wanted to encircle and kill my grandson? Grandpa Jun was furious. If he had known the identities of Yun Luofeng and Yun Xiao, he would not have let those who went to encircle and kill the Ghost Emperor go. In addition, Yun Luofeng pondered for a moment, then continued, you have more than one grandson. Mother has adopted a son and a daughter in the Wuhui continent. On the day I left, she gave birth to a pair of twins. Grandpa Jun, who was still in a rage, was suddenly dumbfounded. This happiness seemed to have come too suddenly. Ever since his wife died, his daughter had been entrusted to someone else. They had never seen each other again, causing the Jun family to wither. In the third generation, there was only Jun Ling, But now, Yun Luofeng was telling him that his daughter had not only adopted a son and a daughter, but also gave birth to a pair of twins? Jun Xian, quickly support me. Grandpa Jun retreated 2 steps in a daze. Fortunately, Jun Xian, who was beside him, quickly supported him, preventing him from fainting. He grabbed Jun Xian's hand tightly and asked blankly, hit me quickly and see if I'm dreaming. Although Jun Xian was an awe-inspiring figure in the Jun family, he was like an obedient disciple in front of old Master Jun. It was impossible for him not to do what his master wanted him to do. Therefore, he slapped old Master Jun on the head. Old Master Jun was instantly enraged. He stretched out his leg and kicked Jun Xian away. Jun Xian fell to the ground pathetically. He raised his head and looked at old Master Jun pitifully. Master, you were the one who told me to hit you. You're really going to hit me when I tell you to. The old man glared at Jun Xian, then turned to Yun Luofeng with a smile. Girl, let's discuss something. Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows. What is it? How about this, you become my granddaughter, and that Ghost Emperor becomes my grandson-in-law. What do you think? Everyone in the Jun family blushed with shame. This was the first time they had seen a grandson who didn't want to acknowledge him, and insisted on forcing his granddaughter-in-law to become his granddaughter. I have something to ask you. Yun Luofeng didn't answer. Instead he asked, do you know where Ghost Emperor is? Chapter 1534. It had been 3 years. She had been separated from Yun Xiao for 3 whole years. She did not want to wait any longer. The old man frowned and sighed. He went to the Hidden Divine Mountain. The Hidden Divine Mountain? Yun Luofeng's heart skipped a beat when she heard those 3 words. The Hidden Divine Mountain was the most dangerous place on the continent. It was no different from the Forest of No Return when she was in the Roaring Dragon continent. Going to that place was equivalent to death. I understand. Yun Luofeng made up her mind. Tomorrow, I will set off to the Hidden Divine Mountain to find him. Little Yun, the old man's frown deepened. If I am not wrong, you should be a high-level Saint Master by now. High-level Saint Master? The old man's words were like a bolt from the blue, stunning everyone present. They knew from the beginning that Yun Luofeng was very strong, but they did not expect that she could reach high-level Saint Master with this ability. The old man smiled bitterly and shook his head. Your talent is indeed strong, but if you want to go to the Hidden Divine Mountain, this strength is not enough. Yun Luofeng's expression was firm. Whether I am strong or not, I must go to the Hidden Divine Mountain. Because there was someone who had been waiting for him there all along. Logically speaking, I should set off to the Hidden Divine Mountain today, but... Her voice paused. Madame Jun's body seems to have some problems. I'm afraid she will not be able to wait until I return. The Madame Jun's body was weak and she was suffering from a serious illness. Grandpa Jun had already hired countless doctors for her, and even he himself could not save her. Little Yun, can you save Fu? The old man's eyes brightened. Others might not understand Yun Luofeng's medical skills, but the old man who had seen Yun Luofeng solve the problem could not possibly not understand. She has been poisoned, but this poison is not acquired. It was brought in from her mother's womb. So, if we want her to recover, I'm afraid it will be very difficult. Yun Luofeng swept his eyes across the old man's agitated face and slightly raised the corners of his lips. However, I can temporarily suppress her illness. Wait for me to return, then treat her. In fact, the Madame June's illness was not as simple as being poisoned. There were problems in all aspects. With Yun Luofeng's current strength, it would take a lot of effort to treat her. Moreover, it would take at least a month to cure her. Unless she broke through to the Saint Realm. Right now, Yun Luofeng's heart was filled with Yun Xiao, so how could he be at ease and stay behind to treat Madame June? The most important thing now was to suppress her illness and continue the treatment after she came back. Good. Grandpa June's mood surged. He coughed twice and said, Jun Xian, bring that Yun girl to see your wife immediately. Jun Xian had already found out about Yun Luofeng's strength from Jun Ling. Naturally, he did not doubt Grandpa June's words. He excitedly led Yun Luofeng to Madame June's residence. Jun Linger did not leave with them. Her clear eyes gradually turned towards Chao Yueqin, who was lying on the ground, and her adorable little face lifted with a hint of disdain. Chao Yueqin, do you still remember what you said before? At that time, you kept saying that elder sister Yun and I were Grandpa's adopted granddaughters, and that you were the only one who could make decisions in the June family. You even wanted to drive us away and replace my father's position. Unfortunately, you're nothing more than a fake. I really don't know where you got the courage to pretend to be a member of my June family. Chapter 1535. Chao Yueqin shook her head, her face pale and her eyes filled with despair. Impossible, this is impossible. The jade token was given to me by my adoptive mother. How could she lie to me? Jun Linger waved her hand and ordered, Guards! Drag Chao Yueqin out and parade her through the streets. Moreover, tell me all of her evilness one by one. Let everyone understand that this Chao Yueqin is just an impostor. Aren't you all fawning over Chao Yueqin? Fawning over those in power? Then I will let you all understand that Chao Yueqin is just an impostor. And that Yi Rong. Betraying me for Chao Yueqin, did you ever think that this would happen? Yes, miss. Two guards stepped forward, pulled Chao Yueqin's body and dragged her out. No. I don't want to go. Please let me go, I beg you. Chao Yueqin's voice was filled with grief as she was dragged out. Her voice was getting further and further away, gradually disappearing into Jun Linger's ears. The next day. Done. The entire Jun family stood to one side, respectfully sending Yun Luofeng off. Jun Linger held her hand tightly and said reluctantly, Sister Yun, when will you come back? When I find Yun Xiao, I will come back. Yun Luofeng looked up at the distant sky and said lightly. Grandpa Jun sighed. Little girl, you really don't need me to go with you? That hidden divine mountain is too dangerous. How can this old man be at ease with you? It was not easy for him to obtain such an obedient granddaughter-in-law. How could he bear to leave her like this? Unfortunately, this granddaughter-in-law was very stubborn. He had tried to persuade her for an entire night, but to no avail. No need. Yun Luofeng shook his head. I will come back alive. In this world, there were too many people she could not let go of. How could she bear to be buried in that hidden divine mountain? Seeing that he was determined, Grandpa Jun did not say anything else. After a moment of silence, he took out 2 jade tokens and placed them in Yun Luofeng's hand. One of the jade tokens was the one he snatched from Yun Luofeng yesterday. It was the one he had placed in his daughter's swaddling clothes. However, the reason he stole the jade plate yesterday was not to steal Yun Luofeng's belongings, but to remember him. Since my daughter gave this jade token to you, it belongs to you. It can block an attack for you when you are in mortal danger. Of course, you can only wear it on your neck. If you take it off, you won't be able to use it. Of course, this jade token could only block fatal attacks. If it wasn't a fatal attack, the jade token wouldn't be of any use. As for the other jade token, I placed a strand of my soul force in it. Soul strength? Hearing this, everyone in the Jun family turned to look at Grandpa Jun, their eyes filled with shock. What did soul power represent? Everyone knew it very well. This spiritual strength was like a strand of the old man's soul that was forcefully sealed in the jade tablet. If he wanted to recover that strand of spiritual strength, it would take a month. If you're in danger, just send your spiritual energy into the jade token. I'll sense it, and I'll be able to instantly come to your side no matter how far away you are. Looking at the jade token handed over by Grandpa Jun, Yun Luofeng would be lying if she said she was not touched. She and Grandpa Jun had only met twice. Even with their relationship with June Fengling, they were not this close. Chapter 1536. However, Grandpa June had sacrificed himself to such an extent for her. Her heart was not made of stone. How could she not be moved? Thank you. Yun Luofeng took the jade token and held it tightly to his chest. His dark eyes flashed with a dazzling light. Little Yun, you've never called me grandfather. Grandpa June glanced at Yun Luofeng resentfully. Now that you're about to leave, aren't you going to call me? Yun Luofeng's lips moved slightly and the corners of her lips curled into a shallow smile. Grandfather. Her voice was very soft and light, but it fell heavily into Grandpa June's heart and filled him with pleasure. This grandfather was so pleasurable. If this little girl had not gone to find her husband, he would have made her stay and let her call him that every day. I'm leaving. Take care. Yun Luofeng saluted with his fists. After saying this, he turned around and walked out of the courtyard. Let go of me and let me in. I want to see Ling Er. Suddenly, a loud voice sounded from outside, causing June Ling Er to frown adorably. Ling Er, is she looking for you? June Xian looked at June Ling Er in surprise and asked. June Ling Er nodded and looked at the guards at the door. Her voice was clear and cold. Let her in. With June Ling Er's words, the guards did not stop her and allowed her to enter the courtyard. Ling Er. Yi Rong's eyes fell on June Ling Er. Her eyes were filled with guilt and apology. She was about to speak when the young girl's clear voice interrupted her. Yi Rong, we're not that close. Don't call me Ling Er. Just call me Miss Ling Er like everyone else. June Ling Er pursed her lips. Although Chao Yueqin had caused her a lot of trouble, she had to thank her for one thing. She had allowed her to see Yi Rong's true colors. Ling Er, I was deceived by her. That's why I said those things. Yi Rong panicked. She wanted to run towards June Ling Er but was suddenly blocked by two guards. They kept her a meter away from June Ling Er. Yi Rong's heart turned cold at this moment. You really don't intend to forgive me? With tears in her eyes, she bit her lip and looked at the indifferent June Ling Er. Yi Rong, have you forgotten what you said before? You said that you had to consider the Yi family before you approached Chao Yueqin. You, on the other hand, were only using me. June Ling Er laughed icily. Why do you think I should forgive you? Yi Rong's heart skipped a beat, and she was secretly annoyed. She had followed Chao Yueqin back then, but why did she say those words to June Ling Er just to show her sincerity? Who would have thought that Chao Yueqin was an imposter and she had even offended Ling Er? Ling Er, you're not such a heartless person. A tear hung in the corner of Yi Rong's eye, and her gaze was filled with pain. Father, I don't want to see her. June Ling Er pouted. This woman is too despicable. She's even more despicable than those who curry favor with the powerful. All right. June Xian stroked June Ling Er's head lovingly. Then father will send someone to chase her out and have the Yi family leave June City forever. Is that all right? Yi Rong's face drained of color and her body began to tremble. If the Yi family were to be forced to leave June City, she would be a sinner for the rest of her life. The elders in the family would never let her off. However, June Xian would not give her another chance to pester June Ling Er. He waved his hand and ordered the guards to throw her out. June Ling Er did not plead for the Yi family. She may be kind but she could not tolerate any deceit. Yi Rong must pay the price for deceiving her. Chapter 1537. The Hidden God Mountain. It was the most dangerous place in the continent of the 9 provinces. Other than the endless number of spiritual beasts, there were also countless traps and traps. If one touched one of these traps, even if one was a spiritual god, they would vanish into thin air. That was why the Hidden God Mountain had such a name. A place that could even bury a spiritual god, one could imagine how dangerous it was. Of course, not all of the Hidden God Mountain was dangerous. The deeper one went, the more dangerous it was. As for the outside of the Hidden God Mountain, even if there were countless ferocious spiritual beasts, people could still leave alive. At this moment, inside the Hidden God Mountain, a woman in white slowly walked in. Her hair fluttered in the wind, and her beautiful yet evil face was shrouded in light. Master! Little Mo left the grimoire and appeared before Yun Luofeng. He looked at the woman next to him and lightly pursed his lips. Are you sure you want to enter the Hidden God Mountain? To be honest, I know nothing about the Hidden God Mountain, and I don't know what the situation is like inside. I am sure. She could not let Yuan Shao face danger alone. No matter what happened, she would stay by his side. Okay, if that's the case, then I will risk my life to accompany you. Little Mo smiled. After being alone for so many years, meeting Yun Luofeng was his life's fortune. How could he retreat in the face of danger? Azure wings. Yun Luofeng did not speak, but called out. In an instant, a muscular azure wing was already standing behind Yun Luofeng, like a mountain protecting her safety. In the hidden God Mountain, there were endless dangers. Therefore she had to summon the puppet, just in case. Let's go. After saying this, she turned her head and looked at the endless mountain range. Her expression became determined. Yun Shao, wait for me. Soon, I will find you. The hidden God Mountain was full of danger. Yun Luofeng had just stepped in when she felt a sense of pressure. If the small tree was still here, she would at least have a protective talisman. Unfortunately, the small tree had fallen into a deep slumber and she could not rely on him. Because of this, Yun Luofeng was even more cautious. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Suddenly, a murderous intent came from the grass. Yun Luofeng frowned and said, "Careful." Hua! At that moment, a group of skeletons stepped out from the underbrush. Each of these skeletons held a bone club in their hands. 2 clusters of dark green hellfire floated in their protruding eyes, making them look strange and eerie. All of them marched in an orderly manner, like a group of well-trained troops. Master, it's the Skeleton King and his subordinates. This Skeleton King's strength is at the mid-level Saint Monarch, while the others are at least at the high-level Saint Venerable level, and most of them are at the low-level Saint Monarch level. Little Mo sucked in a breath of cold air. If I'm not wrong, there should have been an army that came to this place and hid here. But I don't understand why these dead soldiers could survive in the form of skeletons and become so powerful. Yun Luofeng's heart sank. If it was a group of spirit beasts, she might still have a chance. However, what stood in front of her now was a group of skeletons. A dead skeleton that had no sense of pain. How could she fight against a group of skeletons? Chapter 1538. Master, let's escape. Little Mo's voice sounded in his ear. There is still a chance if we escape. Otherwise, we will die here. He did not expect to encounter the skeleton core as soon as he arrived at the Hidden God Mountain. Didn't they say that the outskirts of the Hidden God Mountain were not very dangerous? However, what Little Mo didn't know was that they were just unlucky. The skeleton core only patrolled once a month, but this time, they happened to run into them. Yun-Yi. Yun Luofeng frowned and called out coldly. Yun-Yi immediately understood his master's meaning. He grabbed Yun Luofeng's waist with one hand and picked up Little Mo. With a swoosh, he rushed towards the group of skeletons. If they wanted to enter the Hidden God Mountain, they had to pass through this group of skeletons. If they retreated, it meant that they would not be able to enter. The ghostly green flames in the skeletons' eyes burned even brighter. The bone clubs in their hands carried a strong aura as they fiercely beat against Yun-Yi. Even though Yun-Yi was a puppet made of steel, he could not withstand the blows of the skeletons. Very quickly, his body became riddled with holes, as if he had been pierced by swords. Although the skeletons only held bone clubs in their hands, these clubs were sharper than any sharp weapon. With one blow, a hole would appear. If these bone clubs were to hit Yun Luofeng's body, it would not just be holes. Yun-Yi was just a puppet without a soul. He did not know pain. He only knew how to follow Yun Luofeng's orders and quickly run forward. Seeing Yun-Yi escape, the skeletons waved their bone clubs and chased after them. It seems that although these skeletons are already dead, they still know how to chase after the enemy. They are not like puppets like Yun-Yi. Yun Luofeng was silent for a while. However, after this, I need to reforge Yun-Yi. Suddenly, Yun-Yi stopped. Yun Luofeng looked up and saw a bottomless cliff in front of him. Master, there is a problem with this cliff. Little Mo frowned. There seems to be a restriction here. If you jump in, you will not be able to fly. Yun Luofeng turned to look at the hole that was chasing them, then at the bottomless cliff. His eyes turned cold and he ordered, Yun-Yi, go down. Yun-Yi did not hesitate. Because he was a puppet, he did not show the slightest bit of fear. He expressionlessly jumped off the cliff. The strong wind whistled past her ears, making her unable to open her eyes. The sharp wind made her feel pain all over her body, as if there were knives cutting her skin. She hurriedly closed her eyes and waited for the landing. However, before she could land on the ground, she instantly lost consciousness. Her mind went dark, and she didn't know what happened next. Yun Luofeng felt dizzy. Vaguely, he seemed to hear a voice calling out to him. "Girl, wake up, wake up!" She frowned and opened her eyes impatiently. A young and handsome face entered her line of sight. The man in front of her was wearing a flaxen robe. He was handsome, and his tan skin made him look very healthy. His gray eyes contained a hint of worry. When he saw Yun Luofeng open her eyes, he was overjoyed. "Miss, you're awake?" Yun Luofeng was startled. He rubbed his temples and climbed out of bed. "I remember that I encountered a group of skeletons in the hidden Divine Mountain. What is this place?" Chapter 1539. The man grinned. "This is the Mount of the Hidden Gods. Plus, there is no danger in the country you are in right now." Then, Yun Luofeng heard everything from the man. It turned out that everyone in this place had come to the Hidden God Mountain tens of thousands of years ago and encountered danger. Whether it was being chased by skeletons or spirit beasts, some people would escape to this place. Adding on the fact that there were no spirit beasts here, they decided to live in seclusion here. Of course, some people wanted to leave, but once they arrived at the bottom of this cliff, there was no way out. Therefore, after so many years, this place has become its own country. Though the population is small, there is an imperial city and a market. It is no different from the outside world. However, no spiritual beasts or skeletons can enter this country, but who knows if they can find a chance to leave in the future. Therefore, there is a rule in this country. The strongest man of the younger generation can become the king of this country. The stronger ones of the older generation were absorbed by the group of elders. The marriage of the king needs to be decided by the elders. As a king, he has no right to marry the woman he loves the most. Only the strongest young woman can become the queen. Therefore, the position of the king and queen is not stable. If someone surpasses them, the stronger one can replace them. All in all, this is a country where strength speaks. The rule of the outside world where the throne is passed down from father to son does not work here. It is obvious that the man standing before Yun Luofeng is the king of this country. But, looking at the way he is dressed, it is obvious how poor the royal family is. They don't even have any decent clothes. No wonder these people want to leave this place. The handsome man scratched his head and asked with a smile, "I have told you everything. I wonder if you can tell me your name?" Yun Luofeng paused and said, "Yun Luofeng. These people have lived in seclusion for so many years. Even if she tells them her name, they won't know who she is. Therefore, she doesn't need to worry. Miss Yun, since you are here, you are now a citizen of our country. From now on, we need to spend the rest of our lives here." The man sighed. His brows were full of worry. He was born and raised in the Mount of the Hidden Gods. He has never seen the outside world and doesn't know what it is like. Can we really not leave this place? Yun Luofeng frowned. She had to leave. Because Yun Xiao was still waiting for her. That's right. Those who come here can't leave, the handsome man said with a smile. So you can stay here in peace. By the way, I haven't told you my name. My name is Shen Yuan. After saying this, the handsome man gave a few instructions to the palace maid beside him before leaving. All right. Yun Luofeng suddenly thought of Azure Wing and Little Mo. He hastily checked the situation of the temple and found that Azure Wing was lying on the grass with Little Mo sitting beside him. Yun Luofeng breathed a sigh of relief when he saw the two of them. Forget it. Since I'm already here, I'll just take things as they come. I believe I'll find a way to leave. In the bedroom, a gentle and beautiful woman was sitting on a chair, listening to the palace maid's report, and a cold light flashed across her eyes. Chapter 1540. What's the power of this new woman? Your Majesty, I don't know. The palace maid knelt on the ground respectfully and answered the woman's question. Humph. The gentle beauty scoffed. Observe that woman. If she's weak, then so be it. If she's strong, then send someone to kill her secretly. Yes, Your Majesty. The palace maid responded and retreated. The gentle beauty gripped the teacup in her hand tightly as a cold light flashed across her eyes. She had become the empress not because she was greedy for power, but because she had truly fallen in love with Shen Yuan. For this, she had not hesitated to kill her own sister. That's right. In the beginning, The woman who had been chosen by the elders to be the empress was not her. Instead, it was her sister who was more powerful than her. In order to obtain Xian Yuan, she had used poison to murder her sister. Then, she had stepped over her sister's dead body and ascended to the throne of the empress. How could she allow anyone to threaten her position now? Unfortunately, not only was her sister the empress chosen by the elders, she was also in love with Xian Yuan. Therefore, in the 2 years since they had been married, this man had not touched her at all. Thinking of the past, the murderous intent in the empress' eyes intensified. With a crack, the teacup she was gripping tightly shattered. "Your Majesty, why are you so angry?" Suddenly, a soft laugh was heard. In an instant, a woman in a green dress entered the room. Her features were delicate and beautiful, like a lotus flower emerging from clear water. "Grand Tutor, why are you here?" The empress's voice was respectful when she saw the woman. Like Yun Luofeng, this woman had also come from the outside world. However, her methods were too powerful. Whether it was poison or medicine, they were both extremely powerful. Especially in this country where there were no doctors, her position was highly respected. In particular, this woman could observe the stars at night and predict a person's life and death. Therefore, after a unanimous decision by the elders, she was conferred the title of Grand Tutor. "I know the woman that Wang Exan brought back," the woman in green said with hatred in her eyes. The empress was a little surprised. Perhaps she had not expected the Grand Tutor to know Yun Luofeng. "Then what kind of hatred do you have between the two of you?" The green-robed woman sneered. "Naturally, there is a deep hatred between us. Queen, I should have told you before I came here. My father and I were misunderstood by the people of the world and were hunted down. We were forced to flee to the Poison Valley. After arriving at the Poison Valley, we were slaughtered by the Ghost Emperor. Other than me, who was lucky enough to escape, everyone else is dead. And the one who caused all of this is Yun Luofeng." Lin Youyu had never met Yun Luofeng, but he had firmly remembered this name over the years. If it wasn't for Yun Luofeng, Poison Valley wouldn't have been destroyed, and she wouldn't have had to watch as her father was killed, the queen said in shock. "This Yun Luofeng is actually so vicious?" "He's not just vicious." Lin Youyu's eyes grew colder and colder as he spoke with killing intent. "Do you know what the world thinks of Yun Luofeng? She specialized in snatching men, from centenarians to 10-year-old children. She would not let a single one of them go. 3 years ago, this woman tried to seduce my father and become the madam of the Poison Valley. Who would have thought that my father would harshly reject her? As a result, she harbored hatred in her heart. Because of this, she found the people she had once seduced and destroyed the entire Poison Valley." Actually, Lin Youyu knew very well why the Poison Valley had been massacred. Chapter 1541. Because an elder of the Poison Valley had entered the Sorcerer Demon Clan's illusion and plotted against Yun Luofeng, causing Yun Luofeng's death, those who were on good terms with Yun Luofeng had encircled the Poison Valley. Of course, she could not say these reasons out loud. As for whether Yun Luofeng was dead or not, and whether the person whom the Empress had picked up was the Yun Luofeng that she was familiar with, it did not matter. After all, she had never seen Yun Luofeng in person and did not know what she looked like. However, just because her name was Yun Luofeng, she deserved to die. The Empress recovered from her shock and said angrily, "How can there be such a vicious woman in this world?" "That's right. Now that the Empress has picked her up, will she seduce the Empress? The Empress is also hot-blooded. What if she can't resist the temptation?" Lin Youyu's eyes flickered and her lips curled into a cold smile. "She won't even spare an old man. The Empress is so handsome. Why would you give up? Besides, this woman is greedy for riches and will definitely not let you the Empress off." The Empress gritted her teeth when she heard this. "I had thought that if this woman was weak, I would let her go. But now I must get rid of her. Empress, don't worry. She is our common enemy. I will help you deal with her. However, she has finally fallen into my hands after so much difficulty. I don't want her to die too quickly. This country was her territory. No matter how powerful Yun Luofeng was, how could she compare to those elders? Hence, she had to make use of this opportunity to ruthlessly humiliate her." "That's right." The Empress nodded. "Grand Tutor, you have suffered so much you should take revenge. This woman will not have a good ending if she falls into the Grand Tutor's hands." Lin Youyu laughed and swept her cold gaze towards the Empress. She did not say anything else and walked out. Once Yun Luofeng had recovered, she left the room. The imperial palace was different from the outside world. There were no guards at the entrance. She left the palace directly and arrived at the bustling market outside. From afar, she could see a group of people gathered in front of her. Those people's eyes were filled with worship and reverence as they all looked in one direction. It's the Grand Tutor. I heard that the Grand Tutor has come out to make a prophecy again today. I wonder who would be so pitiful to have fallen for the Grand Tutor's prophecy. Tiske, this imperial preceptor is really godly. If she says that others won't be able to live past midnight, then that person definitely won't be able to. Otherwise, the elder would not think so highly of her, and even give her a position that surpasses that of a king. It's just that the imperial tutor doesn't help people predict their lifespan. The imperial tutor will reject anyone who begs him to predict their lifespan. Unless she comes out herself to point someone out, that person will know that his time is up. Inside the tall building, a green-clothed woman was escorted by many palace maids as she walked up the tall building. She was like a monarch looking down on all living things, looking down on the group of humans below. Her expression was like that of a god who decided life and death. No one's life or death could escape her eyes. Predicting lifespan? Yun Luofeng, on the other hand, stopped in his tracks with interest. Little Mo, is there anyone in this world who has such power? A moment later, Little Mo's voice sounded in his soul. I've never heard of it. Even the most powerful prophet 1,000 years ago didn't have this kind of power. I didn't expect that there would be someone with such mysterious power in this small country. Perhaps it was because he wanted to know how this woman would predict, so Yun Luofeng did not rush to find a way out. Instead, he stopped and observed the woman on the high platform. Chapter 1542. Everyone. A palace maid stepped forward. It's the same as before. Whoever the pill in our imperial tutor's hand hits will be the person who will lose his life in a few days. Pill? Yun Luofeng frowned. She turned to look at the crowd and asked, why did the Grand Tutor use a pill instead of personally announcing the lifespan of others? That person glanced at Yun Luofeng with a look of disdain. You don't even know the Grand Tutor's personality? The Grand Tutor is kind by nature. She couldn't bear to say that someone's lifespan is about to end, so she used this method to avoid it. After the person finished speaking, she ignored Yun Luofeng and stared nervously at the woman in green on the high platform. Yun Luofeng was speechless. If she really couldn't bear it, she wouldn't have ended someone's lifespan. Her method was not desirable in the first place. Everyone, our Grand Tutor has already made her decision. I hope that the person she has chosen will prepare for his funeral. The palace maid's voice rang out again, making the crowd even more nervous. At this moment, the Grand Tutor on the high platform had already made her move. A pill was flicked out by her and instantly hit a person's throat. Don't look at how the pill came from far away. In fact, it didn't have much power. It didn't even turn red. Even so, the person who had been hit knelt on the ground with a thud. His face was deathly pale and filled with despair. Everyone else shook their heads. Their faces were filled with sympathy and pity, but no one went to help the person up. Yun Luofeng wasn't like the others. When she saw the pill land on the person's throat, her face darkened and a sharp light flashed across her eyes. Little Mo, do you understand? After a while, Little Mo's voice rang out from her soul. Look carefully. This pill has been smeared with poison. As long as it touches the skin, he will die within 5 days. I was wondering if there was someone in this world who could end someone's lifespan. I didn't think that they would use such a vicious method. Just now, those people had said that the Grand Tutor wouldn't accept anyone who begged her. She would only use this method to end someone's lifespan. It was obvious that this method was very accurate. It wasn't that the youth who had been hit by the pill would die, but the pill had been smeared with poison. How could he not die? Master, are the people of this country stupid? Little Mo was speechless. This woman who was called the state preceptor obviously didn't have any real ability, but she was able to fool these ignorant people. They're not stupid. It's just that there are no doctors or poison masters in this country, so they don't know that the pills are poisonous. Besides, the citizens of this country had been isolated from the outside world for so many years, so how could they know about the schemes of the outside world? It was only natural for him to be deceived. Master, aren't you going to save that young man? I've never met him before. Why would I save him? Yun Luofeng shook his head. If it has nothing to do with me, I won't interfere. More importantly, in this place, power was everything. If she went to save a person who was determined to die, it would definitely attract the attention of the elders in the country. Perhaps, they might even force her to be the empress. Would she do such a thankless task? Yun Luofeng turned around and did not look at the situation in front of him any longer. He turned around and walked towards the other side of the street. On the tall platform, Lin Youyu seemed to have sensed something. Her clear eyes looked towards Yun Luofeng in the crowd, as killing intent flashed within them. Chapter 1543. Yun Luofeng. I will not let you go. She looked away and ordered the palace maid beside her. Tell him that he will die in 5 days. With that, he walked down the high platform and left in a carefree manner. For the whole day, Yun Luofeng searched for a way to leave. Unfortunately, there seemed to be some kind of restriction placed at the bottom of the cliff. He could not fly. Otherwise, he could have flown out of this place. Little Mo, it looks like we can't just keep searching like this. I need to know where the restriction is set up. Only by finding the restriction will we be able to leave. Yun Luofeng slowly walked into the room and spoke after a moment of silence. Before little Mo, who was in the grimoire, could answer her, the door was opened. A handsome man in a flaxen robe walked in, led by a group of guards. Miss Yun, it seems that your body has recovered well. The man was surprised. Even though jumping off the cliff would not kill her, but she would definitely be severely injured. But she had recovered in less than a day? Yun Luofeng took a sip of tea and asked, Can I ask you a question? Please ask, Miss Yun. Xian Yuan grinned, his expression simple and honest. I will tell you everything I know. I just want to ask if there is any special place in your country. Special? Xian Yuan pondered for a while before replying, There is a forbidden area at the back of the mountain. Those who enter the forbidden area will lose their lives. After a long time, no one has entered it. If there is a special place, it would be this place. Forbidden area? Yun Luofeng paused. Can you take me to the forbidden area to have a look? Xian Yuan smiled bitterly and shook his head. In order to prevent innocent people from dying, the elders do not allow anyone to enter the forbidden area unless they have the token of an elder. So, there is nothing I can do. For some reason, Yun Luofeng had a premonition that she could definitely find a way to leave the forbidden area. Then can I trouble you to take me to see the elders of your country? Xian Yuan was silent for a moment and nodded. Okay, come with me. In this country, the royal family and the elders were not high and mighty. On the contrary, if someone wanted to see them, they only needed to report and receive permission to enter. This was why Xian Yuan brought Yun Luofeng to the elders' hall. At this moment within the elders' courtyard, all the elders were discussing something, and their faces were filled with worry. Right at this moment, someone came to report that Xian Yuan had brought an unfamiliar woman to see him. Xian Yuan brought a woman to see us? The oldest old man was stunned. He frowned and said, Could it be that Xian Yuan wants to take a concubine? That won't do. We won't allow him to fool around. In this country, the number of women was obviously less than the number of men. As such, polygamy was not allowed in order to prevent other men from not having a wife. Even if Xian Yuan was a king, he could only have one queen. Unless the queen died in an accident, then he could remarry. Let them come in first. Let's see what's going on, another elder suggested. Hearing this, the elderly man nodded slightly. Let them in. After a while the door was opened, and a ray of light shone in from outside. The brilliant light enveloped the man and woman at the door. The woman was a peerless beauty that could topple a city. Her pitch-black eyes faintly contained an evil glint, and her expression was somewhat lazy and satisfied. Chapter 1544. All the elders' eyes were filled with shock. Whether it was the queen or the grand tutor, they were all great beauties in the country. However, compared to this woman in white, they were worlds apart. No wonder the monarch had brought this woman to find them. Monarch. The elderly man frowned slightly. Why did you bring this lady here? Although this woman was beautiful, in their country, power was everything. No matter how beautiful she was just a vase. Great elder. Xian Yuan's expression was respectful. Lady Yun wants to go to the forbidden area at the back of the mountain. Please allow her. No. The great elder's expression darkened. He said sternly, "What kind of place is the forbidden area? No one who has gone there has ever returned alive. We will not allow anyone to step into that place again. You'd better go back." Lady Yun. Xian Yuan turned to Yun Luofeng and smiled bitterly. "As you can see, the elders do not allow you to go there." To be honest, Xian Yuan did not intend to let Yun Luofeng go to the forbidden area. After all, that place was too dangerous. Wouldn't it be courting death for a woman like her? Yun Luofeng looked up at the elders. "What if I say that the forbidden area has a way to allow you to leave this place?" "What?" Yun Luofeng's words instantly stirred up a storm in the elders' hearts. The forbidden area had a way to allow them to leave this damned place? It had to be said that to the elders, leaving the bottom of the cliff was the most important thing. If what Yun Luofeng said was true, could they take the risk and give it a try? The elders hesitated and looked at each other. Finally, they turned to look at the great elder and waited for his decision. Just as the great elder was about to speak, a chuckle came from outside the house. A woman in a green dress walked in with the queen. There was a faint smile on her face as she looked at Yun Luofeng with her clear eyes. At this moment, the queen also saw Yun Luofeng's face. Her heart was filled with jealousy and anger. She, who did not think much of it, did not expect that the woman the monarch had picked up would be so beautiful. If she did not die, how could she be at ease? Fortunately, this idiot had offended a great person like the imperial tutor. How could he continue to live unscathed? "Elders," Lin Youyu retracted her gaze and sneered. "Don't be fooled by this woman. I've already predicted that there's no way to help you leave. If there really is a way to leave the forbidden area, how could I not know about it?" The elders hesitated again. Indeed, they had all seen the abilities of the imperial preceptor. If there really was a way to leave the forbidden grounds, how could the imperial preceptor not know? Also, Lin Youyu paused, his sharp gaze sweeping towards Yun Luofeng. "Yesterday, I observed the stars and discovered that a woman will come to our country today. Moreover, this woman will one day cause a destructive blow to our country." In the beginning, the elders did not like Xian Yuan bringing a woman to see them, but they did not show any unfriendliness. Now that they heard Lin Youyu's words, all their gazes turned to Yun Luofeng. Their eyes were filled with vigilance and doubt. "King, this woman's origins are unknown and she will bring disaster to the entire country." The great elder pondered for a moment and said, "Therefore, you should immediately chase her out. From now on, she is not allowed to take another step in." Chapter 1545. Lin Youyu narrowed her eyes. Chasing Yun Luofeng out was not what she wanted. "Great elder, I've already said that this woman will bring disaster to the country. We will only be spared if she dies." "Die." The elders were stunned. They had lived here for so long and it had always been peaceful and peaceful. There had never been any conflict or struggle. Therefore, it was difficult for them to get over the mental barrier of killing someone. Lin Youyu's eyes flashed and she continued to tempt them. "Elders, do you think it's more worthwhile to sacrifice her alone or to let the entire country perish?" Indeed, even if they were sinners and killed this unknown woman, it was better than letting everyone in the country die. The great elder sighed softly. "Men, capture this woman and burn her to death." "Elder." Xian Yuan's expression changed. "Isn't it too one-sided to think that Lady Yun will destroy the country just because of the Grand Tutor's words?" In reality, Xian Yuan had never had a good impression of Lin Youyu. This woman could decide the life and death of people with a wave of her hand, causing countless people to face terror. Yet she stood high and mighty and accepted the worship of the world. Did she not think that her actions were cruel? Now, she had casually decided to kill Yun Luofeng. How could a person's life be taken so easily? "King, as the king of the country, you should consider the entire country." The great elder frowned. "You can't be willful now. Back then, you were so willful that you didn't want to marry the queen and insisted on thinking about someone who had passed away. When will you start thinking about the bigger picture?" Xian Yuan's body trembled. What happened back then was a pain that he could never erase. Even now, the wound in his heart had not healed. Yun Luofeng laughed at the fact that these people had casually decided his life and death. "What are you laughing at?" Lin Youyu's expression turned cold. "Do we know each other?" Yun Luofeng glanced at Lin Youyu and curled his lips. If they didn't know each other, would this woman want to kill him? "I'm just stating my prophecy. It has nothing to do with you. Is that so? Yun Luofeng stroked his chin and smiled. Today, in the market, I saw you determine the life and death of a person. I wonder what illness that person has, and when he will die. Lin Youyu looked at Yun Luofeng impatiently. He doesn't have any illness. If Yama wants him dead, no one can stop him. Moreover, his lifespan is less than 5 days. Are you sure? No one can stop it. Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes, a dangerous light in them. Lin Youyu's heart skipped a beat. For some reason, a bad premonition surged from the bottom of her heart, but she still braced herself and said, "That's right. No one can stop it." Yun Luofeng didn't say anything else. He turned to look at Xian Yuan and said, "Go and summon that person. I can stop him from dying." "Miss Yun, are you sure?" Xian Yuan was very surprised. To prevent others from dying. Was that even possible? Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a smile. So what if he's the king of hell? I'm sorry, but I've always liked to snatch lives from the king of hell. The last sentence was naturally directed at Lin Youyu. Lin Youyu's expression was very ugly. The uneasiness in her heart grew stronger, but she did not know why. All right. To be honest, Xian Yuan also did not believe that Yun Luofeng could snatch lives from the king of hell. However, this was indeed the only way to save her. Thus, he did not hesitate and ordered someone to bring the person who was about to die today. Chapter 1546. Many people had witnessed what had happened at the market, so it was very easy to find the culprit. In a short while, the despairing young man was brought over. Let's begin. Yun Luofeng slowly walked towards the young man who was sitting paralyzed on the ground. With a flip of her hand, a silver needle wrapped in cloth appeared in her hand. The entire elder's room was silent as everyone stared at Yun Luofeng quietly. After Yun Luofeng disinfected the silver needle in her hand, she slowly pierced it into the young man's body. With a groan, the entire silver needle was buried in his body. As the silver needle was buried, Yun Luofeng's spiritual power was slowly channeled in. Soon, the young man's body was covered in silver needles and his pale face began to recover. However, no one had any hope. After all, the Grand Tutor's power was obvious and no one could escape her prophecy. This poor young man was the same. Done. Time passed slowly. As these two words rang out, Yun Luofeng placed her palm on the young man's chest. With a bang, the silver needles that had been buried in his body were instantly shaken out. At the same time, the young man spat out a mouthful of dark green blood. Lin Youyu's face was ashen and a cold look flashed across her eyes. Even if this woman's medical skills were brilliant and could cure this young man, so what? 5 days was enough for him to use all his means to kill him. However, Yun Luofeng's next words abruptly destroyed Lin Youyu's plan. As this matter is of great importance, in order to prevent others from resorting to murder, let her stay in the elder's room for the next 5 days. I hope that all of you can keep an eye on her. Yun Luofeng turned to look at the elders and spoke plainly. The elders still did not believe in Yun Luofeng's abilities. However, in order to convince Yun Luofeng of his loss, they had agreed. This country was isolated from the rest of the world and its residents were very simple. They would definitely do what they promised, so Yun Luofeng left in peace. Elders. Lin Youyu frowned slightly as a cold light flashed across her eyes. Before she could finish her sentence, Xian Yuan interrupted her coldly. Grand Tutor, so what if we give her 5 days? If this young man dies, it proves that your prophecy is correct. If he is still alive, it proves that you are only a... I wonder if the Grand Tutor has the courage to wait for 5 days? In 5 days, he would have a chance to think of a way to save Yun Luofeng. Lin Youyu's face was deathly pale. He clenched his fists tightly as a cold light flickered in his eyes. Imperial Tutor. There will be a decision in 5 days. Don't worry, Imperial Tutor, the great elder said. Humph. Lin Youyu fiercely flung his sleeves, turned around and walked out. She also rejoiced in her heart, hoping that Yun Luofeng's medical skills would not be able to cure her poison. The youth's face was still ashen. His trust in Lin Youyu made it impossible for him to believe that he could live for another 5 days. In his heart, he had already sentenced himself to death. 5 days passed quickly. In these 5 days, the citizens of the country all knew about the bet between Yun Luofeng and Lin Youyu. Of course, everyone scoffed at Yun Luofeng for overestimating himself. The imperial tutor was like a deity. How could there be any error in her judgment? That woman was obviously stalling for time in order to live for 5 more days. Unfortunately, 5 days later, she still couldn't escape death, however. In order to personally witness the fate of becoming the imperial tutor's enemy, these people did not sleep on the 4th night. Instead, they ran to the palace and stood outside the elder's room for an entire night, just to witness the pitiful youth's death. Chapter 1547. Creak. Under the crowd's expectant gaze, the door to the elder's chamber was slowly pushed open. The first person to step out of the door was an elderly man. The elderly man's face was expressionless, but a shrewd light shone in his old eyes. However, he did not speak in the face of the puzzled crowd. "Elder, what's the situation? Is that young man dead? Should we take care of his funeral arrangements?" In the end, a young man could not help but ask the question in his heart. However, no one believed that the young man was still alive. Anyone who had been declared dead by the Grand Tutor's judgment would undoubtedly die. The Grand Elder did not reply. He turned his body slightly to the side and revealed the entire room to the crowd. In the room, the young man's eyes were filled with bewilderment and astonishment, but most of it was the excitement that came from the depths of his soul. "He's not dead." The Grand Tutor had declared that he would not live for more than 5 days. Now that 5 days have passed, he's actually still alive. What else could be more exciting than this? The rest of the crowd was also stunned on the spot, as if they could not believe what they were seeing. This young man is actually not dead. The Grand Tutor's prediction could be wrong? Behind the crowd, Lin Yoyu, who was dressed in a green robe, stared at the young man who had just stepped out of the room with a pale face. She bit her lips and began to tremble. Impossible. Her poison skills are exquisite, and no one in the entire Poison Valley can compare to her. Now, Yun Luofeng has actually managed to cure the poison? At this moment, an icy coldness enveloped her entire body, making her feel as if she had fallen into an icehouse. Soon after, a vague sense of unease rose from the bottom of her heart. She turned around and was about to leave this place. Suddenly, a tall figure appeared in front of her and blocked her path. Then, a man's magnetic and hoarse voice rang out. "Lord Grand Tutor, where are you going?" Lin Yoyu's body suddenly froze. She raised her head mechanically and saw a handsome and dashing face. However, the smile on that face made her tremble with fear. "Empress, didn't you say that no one can stop this young man's death?" Shen Yuan laughed icily. "Now, what else do you have to say?" Lin Yoyu laughed awkwardly. "That was only a coincidence. Besides, my predictions have never been wrong." "Really?" Just as Lin Yoyu finished speaking, an evil voice came from the side. In that instant, Lin Yoyu's eyes were filled with rage. He turned his head and glared at the woman in white who was walking towards him. Under the morning light, the woman's clothes were whiter than snow. Her beauty could topple a city, and her every frown and every smile was magnificent. However, only Lin Yoyu gritted his teeth in hatred towards the woman walking towards him. "You have the ability to determine the life and death of others?" Yun Luofeng raised his eyebrows and swept them over. The smile on his lips was filled with evil. "Then, I wonder if you can find someone who is about to die among these people?" Ever since Shen Yuan had blocked Lin Yoyu's path, everyone's gazes had landed on her. Now that they heard Yun Luofeng's words, everyone felt their bodies tremble as they nervously stared at Lin Yoyu. Although that pitiful young man had survived, they were still extremely fearful of the imperial tutor's abilities. It was because of this that they were so terrified. Lin Yoyu's expression changed. "I don't casually determine the life and death of others. Otherwise, my abilities will go awry. Only under special circumstances will I be able to." Yun Luofeng did not have the patience to listen to Lin Yoyu's words. She raised her brow and said, "Shen Yuan, please snatch her space ring for me." Chapter 1548. Empress. The great elder frowned when he saw that Shen Yuan was about to make a move after hearing Yun Luofeng's words. He hurriedly stopped her and said, "Even though the Grand Tutor's judgment is wrong this time, we are still well aware of her previous abilities. I can let your friend go, but you cannot disrespect the Grand Tutor." Shen Yuan slowly walked in front of Lin Yoyu. He raised his hand and firmly grasped Lin Yoyu's clothes in his hand. "Empress, stop!" The great elder's expression was extremely ugly as he quickly stepped forward to stop Shen Yuan. However, it was too late. Xian Yuan had snatched the space ring from Lin Youyu's hand and handed it to Yun Luofeng. Even he did not know why he trusted this woman so much. She had even disregarded the elders' orders. Empress! The elders flew into a rage. Perhaps they had never thought that Xian Yuan would disregard their orders for the sake of a woman. However, before the elders could vent their anger, they saw Yun Luofeng take out a pill from the space ring. This pill was what Lin Youyu used to determine a person's life and death. Just from the smell alone, they could recognize it. Everyone was dumbstruck when they saw Yun Luofeng take out the pill. They clearly did not understand her intentions. It is said that because you cannot bear to do so, you will not personally determine a person's life and death. Instead, you use this to speak on your behalf? Yun Luofeng played with the pill in her hand as a smile curled on the corners of her lips. Her evil eyes glanced at Lin Youyu. Lin Youyu's face was deathly pale as she clenched her fists tightly. Since this woman knew that the pill was poisonous, why did she hold it in her hand? Could it be that she was not afraid of poison? That's right, this is the pill. Without waiting for Lin Youyu to answer, Xian Yuan answered for her. Since that's the case, I wonder if the Grand Tutor is willing to take this pill? Yun Luofeng looked at Lin Youyu with a forced smile as she asked sinisterly. Lin Youyu took 2 steps back and said, "This pill cannot be eaten." "You can't eat it but you can touch it?" Yun Luofeng's smile grew even wider. "In that case, are you willing to take the pill?" In reality, even though Lin Youyu was born in the Poison Valley, he was not immune to all poisons. Usually, when she used this pill, she would wrap it with her spiritual power. She did not dare to let it come into contact with her skin, so she did not end up poisoned. But now, after hearing Yun Luofeng's words, Lin Youyu took 2 steps back again, and panic flashed across his eyes. Xian Yuan seemed to sense something. He stretched out his hand, wanting to take the pill from Yun Luofeng's hand and force Lin Youyu to take it. Unfortunately, before he could touch the pill, Yun Luofeng retracted his hand. "If you want to die, you can try." Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes, and a dangerous glint flashed across his eyes. Xian Yuan scratched his head and chuckled. "You'll be fine even if you hold it. If something happens to me, you'll definitely have a way to save me." Hearing this, Yun Luofeng glanced at Xian Yuan before turning his gaze back to Lin Youyu. "This pill is yours. Why don't you have the guts to accept it?" Lin Youyu's eyes flickered and there was a sinister look in his eyes. "Who knows if you've poisoned the pill in an attempt to harm me?" Yun Luofeng smiled. "Under the watchful eyes of so many people, how am I supposed to poison it?" "Lin Youyu. No, I should call you the eldest miss of the Poison Valley." In this hidden divine mountain, the only person she had ever offended was the Poison Valley. Yun Xiao and the others also thought that the Poison Valley had harmed her, so they had chased after the Poison Valley. Therefore, only the people from the Poison Valley could hate her to the core. Chapter 1549. Panic flashed across Lin Youyu's eyes when her identity was exposed by Yun Luofeng, but she pretended to be calm and said, "I don't understand what you mean." In any case, she would never admit that she had a grudge against Yun Luofeng. "Grand Tutor, she's right. You are the eldest lady of the Poison Valley." A gentle and beautiful voice rang out from behind the crowd. When the crowd dispersed, a gentle-looking woman slowly walked over. Lin Youyu's face darkened when she saw the gentle and beautiful woman. "Grand Tutor, what do you mean by that?" The Empress's beautiful eyes swept towards Lin Youyu as she bit her lip. "Grand Tutor, it's best that you don't deny it now. 5 days ago, you came to find me and told me about the grudge between you and Yun Luofeng. You even slandered her for seducing your father. With such a deep grudge between you and her, it's not strange that you want to frame her." Boom! Lin Youyu's entire body surged with rage as she glared angrily at the gentle and beautiful face behind her. "Empress! You! Grand Tutor, I've pretended to trust you all this while because I wanted to avenge my sister." Lin Youyu covered her mouth as tears flowed down from her eyes. However, her words caused Xian Yuan's body to tremble and his tightly clenched fists made cracking sounds. "Empress, what did you just say?" The Empress lowered her eyes as a sinister light flashed across her eyes. After a long while, she raised her head and her eyes were lovely and moving. "Empress, I didn't want to say it at first. The real culprit behind my sister's murder is the Grand Tutor." Her finger instantly pointed at Lin Youyu as her voice was filled with hatred. "However, the people of our country have too much trust in the Grand Tutor. No one would believe me even if I said it. Now, I don't want to see her hurt any more innocent people, so I decided to expose this matter. As she spoke, Lin Yoyu slowly took out a cloth bag from her lapel and carefully opened it. In an instant, a brown pill was reflected in everyone's eyes. I picked up this pill after the Grand Tutor had left it behind. It hasn't passed through Miss Yun's hands. I wonder if the Grand Tutor dares to let this pill come into contact with your skin? In an instant, everyone turned to look at Lin Yoyu, their eyes filled with doubt. Lin Yoyu trembled with anger. Queen, don't forget that 2 years ago, you were the one who begged me to help you deal with your sister. You were the one who killed her. Now you want to frame me? The Queen covered her mouth in surprise, tears falling from her eyes. She is my sister. How could I harm my sister's life? State Preceptor, in order to get rid of suspicion, you want to pour dirty water on my head. Is this appropriate? Lin Yoyu did not expect that the Queen would step forward at this time and frame him. When did he kill her sister? 2 years ago, the Queen bought a poison from him, and then her sister died suddenly. Through his examination, he found out that the poison that caused her sister's sudden death was the poison that the Queen had bought. She had thought that she had something on the Queen and could do whatever she wanted in this country from now on. She did not expect that because of her concealment, this woman would be so insidious as to frame her. Grand Tutor! Shen Yuan roared. His eyes turned red and filled with blood vessels. You killed Qing-er? His childhood sweetheart, the wife he had fallen in love with, had been murdered by the Grand Tutor? Chapter 1550. If he did not tear this woman into pieces, how could he vent the hatred in his heart? Lin Yoyu laughed coldly. Empress, do you really think that your actions will allow you to stay in your position? You've seen what happened to me. Unless you don't have any jealousy in your heart, once you do, you will be doomed eternally. She had underestimated Yun Luofeng from the beginning. That was why she had lost so badly. The Empress was an extremely jealous woman and could not tolerate anyone around the Empress. If she wanted to deal with Yun Luofeng, she would definitely suffer a crushing defeat. The Empress' eyes darkened. When she looked up, there was a pitiful look in her eyes once again. Grand Tutor, I don't understand what you mean. Humph. Lin Yoyu scoffed. You know it very well. After saying that, she did not say another word and her expression was cold. Grand Tutor, what exactly is going on? The Great Elder was silent for a moment before he asked angrily. In an instant, everyone looked at the Grand Tutor. Under everyone's gaze, Lin Yoyu's expression became uglier and uglier. Yun Luofeng glanced at the Empress. If he was not mistaken, the first time Lin Yoyu had brought the Empress to the Elder's room, the Empress had looked at him with an unfriendly gaze. There was even a hint of anger in her gaze. But now, she was speaking up for him? Yun Luofeng faintly narrowed his eyes. Soon after, he turned his head towards Lin Yoyu and said with a faint smile, Actually, this matter is very simple. This pill has been smeared with a lethal poison. Anyone who touches it will die within a few days. So, it's not that the Grand Tutor can determine a person's life or death. It's just that, if she poisons someone, that person will not die. Swoosh. The crowd was in an uproar. Everyone's anger seemed to have been ignited. However, they still restrained the impulse in their hearts and quietly waited for Lin Yoyu's explanation. Lin Yoyu laughed coldly and did not speak. It was as if she had tacitly agreed with Yun Luofeng's words. Grand Tutor. The Great Elder finally could not control himself and angrily berated. Is what she said true? You don't have the power of prophecy. All of this was caused by your own means? Lin Yoyu's lips curled into a mocking smile. Her eyes were filled with mockery. Her gaze slowly turned towards the Great Elder. She raised her eyebrows and coldly said, This is only because you are too stupid. Who can you blame? In other words, it was because they were too stupid that they were deceived by him. Since that was the case, who did they want to blame? At that moment, the crowd could no longer control themselves. They swarmed towards Lin Yoyu, wanting nothing more than to tear this woman into pieces. The Great Elder did not stop the impulsive crowd. He clenched his fists so tightly that they made cracking sounds. The reason why this woman was able to determine the life and death of others was because the people she determined to be dead had all been killed by her. What was laughable was that he actually believed in her without a shred of doubt and even worshipped her like a god. Damned girl, how dare you lie to us? You'll definitely die a horrible death. I'm going to tear you into pieces right now to avenge the blood feud of our fellow countrymen. Go to hell, hurry up and go to hell. You evil woman, you nearly caused me to lose my life. If I don't torture you to death, I won't be able to dispel the hatred in my heart. Among the crowd, the most furious was the young man who had been saved by Yun Luofeng. If it had not been for Yun Luofeng, he knew that he would not have lasted past the 5th day. Chapter 1551. But it was Lin Youyu who had caused all of this. Apart from that, the people who had lost their loved ones to Lin Youyu were also furious. They took out their weapons and slashed at Lin Youyu's limbs. Ah! Lin Youyu let out a heart-wrenching scream from the intense pain. Her entire body was drenched in blood and she trembled uncontrollably. Yun Luofeng. It was all Yun Luofeng's fault. If not for this woman, she would not have ended up like this. Thinking of this, she glared at Yun Luofeng maliciously. She bit her tongue fiercely and spat out a mouthful of blood. Yun Luofeng, I curse you. In the end, your fate will be worse than mine. Ha ha ha. She laughed arrogantly. Her laughter was filled with insolence and arrogance, as if she didn't put anyone in her eyes. Xian Yuan panicked. Miss Yun, what should we do? A curse made with blood from the tip of her tongue will definitely come true. Yun Luofeng's expression remained calm. So what? A curse is just a curse. I would not even fear the emperor himself. Why would I be afraid of a curse? Miss Yun. Xian Yuan's brows were filled with worry. In their country, there was a saying that a curse made from blood from the tip of the tongue was the most powerful and would almost always come true. So, when she heard that the target of Lin Youyu's curse was Yun Luofeng, the queen subconsciously heaved a sigh of relief. A person could only curse once. Thus, she had escaped this calamity. Yun Luofeng's evil eyes swept towards Xian Yuan. Which is stronger, the power of the curse or the rules of the world? Xian Yuan was stunned. He looked at Yun Luofeng in confusion. It must be the rules of the world. Hearing this, Yun Luofeng laughed. Even if the world cannot restrain me, what can a curse do to me? She laughed coldly. Her brows were furrowed. Furthermore, if the heavens want me dead, I will destroy them first. If someone wants me dead, I will destroy his entire family first. If a god wants to kill me, I will destroy his entire family. Like this, I want to see who can kill me now. Yun Luofeng had never feared the heavens. Would she be afraid of a small curse? If someone wanted to kill her, she would first make them disappear. Perhaps Xian Yuan had been shocked by Yun Luofeng's earth-shattering words and was speechless for a long time. But the great elder was very dissatisfied with her words and unconsciously frowned. Miss Yun, I am very grateful to you for revealing the imperial tutor's true identity. However, the heavens are not something you can insult. The laws of heaven and earth are not something that ordinary people can break. We need to be fearful of the gods of heaven and earth. Yun Luofeng coldly glanced at the great elder, stopping him from chattering away. It's your business if you're afraid of the world, but I've never had anything to fear. Since you worship the gods so much, why didn't the gods come to save you? In this country, the gods of heaven and earth were the people's faith. They maintained a sense of respect for the illusory existences like the gods. But, after hearing Yun Luofeng's words, the crowd fell silent. I think that this girl is right. We've worshipped the heavens for so many years, but we're still trapped in this place. Furthermore, if it wasn't for our faith in the gods, we wouldn't have thought of the imperial tutor as the savior sent by the gods. That's why we've fallen for her trick. I think that we should think of a way to leave by ourselves. We shouldn't rely on the illusory gods. The crowd's voices made the great elder's expression turn increasingly ugly. However, he could not find any words to refute. Chapter 1552. Yun Luofeng did not give him a chance to speak and continued to look at Xian Yuan. Take me to the forbidden area at the back of the mountain. Xian Yuan was stunned and subconsciously looked up at Great Elder. Under his questioning gaze, the first elder finally sighed and helplessly gave up. You can go. Great Elder. The queen's face was pale. That forbidden area is too dangerous. Those who go there will most likely die. Isn't this forcing people to their deaths? Of course, the queen did not say this because she was worried about Yun Luofeng. After all, she wanted Yun Luofeng to be turned to ashes. She only understood Xian Yuan and understood that if Great Elder agreed, Xian Yuan would definitely personally take Yun Luofeng to the forbidden area at the back of the mountain. Therefore, even if she hated Yun Luofeng to the core, she still did not want Great Elder to agree to her request. Xian Yuan's tone was a little impatient. Great Elder has already agreed. What are you saying? The queen's body stiffened and she lowered her head slightly. She looked very wronged and bit her lip tightly. After a long time, Yun Luofeng's lazy voice sounded again. I can go to the forbidden area at the back of the mountain alone. You only need to show me the way. Xian Yuan was stunned and asked worriedly, Miss Yun, the forbidden area at the back of the mountain is too dangerous. If you go alone, I won't be at ease. In any case, Yun Luofeng had helped him and had even unearthed the murderer who had killed his beloved. How could he just watch as Yun Luofeng charged into a land of death? It's useless for you to go. You'll only drag me down, Yun Luofeng said calmly. So, I can go alone. Both Great Elder and the Queen breathed a sigh of relief at Yun Luofeng's words. They did not want Xian Yuan to be involved in this matter. Otherwise, if this country chose another king, it would take a lot of time. Miss Yun, you can't enter the forbidden area at the back of the mountain. I will send a guard to escort you to the forbidden area. Great Elder smiled. His tone was not as dissatisfied as before. Instead, it was polite. Yun Luofeng did not speak. To be honest, she did not have a good impression of the people in this place except for Xian Yuan. As for the risk of going to the forbidden area at the back of the mountain, she was just doing it for herself. After the guard left with Yun Luofeng, the Great Elder looked away and turned to Xian Yuan. King, come with me, he said calmly. Xian Yuan nodded and followed the Great Elder into the Elder's room. At this moment, no one noticed that the Queen who had been standing beside Xian Yuan had disappeared. Inside the Elder's room, Xian Yuan was a little uneasy, not knowing why the Great Elder was looking for him. The Great Elder and the other elders looked at each other before looking at Xian Yuan and sighing. King, we've been hiding something from you. It's a legacy left behind by our ancestors. Legacy? Xian Yuan was stunned and asked, What legacy? The Great Elder pondered for a moment. The legacy left behind by our ancestors is that in the future, whoever can lead us out of this place will be a god sent by the heavens to save us. Otherwise, why do you think I've made you all revere the gods for so many years? Great Elder, you mean? Xian Yuan looked up at the Great Elder in shock. If Yun Luofeng really finds a way to leave the forbidden area, she will be the person sent by the gods to save us? Chapter 1553. The Great Elder shook his head and sighed helplessly. Let's not talk about whether she can help us. Just the fact that she's so disrespectful to the deities proves that she's not someone sent by the deities. Xian Yuan clenched his fists. He glanced at the window in front of him with worry in his eyes. He naturally hoped that Yun Luofeng was the person that the Great Elder had mentioned. That way, her life could be saved. In the bedchamber, the gentle and beautiful woman was somewhat restless. Her eyes were filled with worry. At this moment, a palace maid hurried in and knelt in front of the gentle and beautiful woman. She reported respectfully, Your Majesty, I overheard the conversation between the Great Elder and the Empress. Then, the palace maid reported the contents of the conversation without missing a word. The Empress lowered her eyes and muttered to herself. After a long while, she raised her beautiful eyes and her lips curled into a cold smile. The person sent by the deities can allow the people of our country to leave this wretched place? Furthermore, if someone can lead the people out, they must be worshipped like a deity? Your Majesty, that is indeed what the Great Elder said. The palace maid lowered her head and her voice was very respectful. The Empress turned her beautiful eyes slightly. There was a vicious light in her gloomy eyes. She did not know why, but she had a feeling that Yun Luofeng's arrival was fated. Perhaps, she could really lead the people out of here? No, I can't sit here and wait for death. The position of the Empress must belong to me. The most respected woman must also be me. Only then could she stand by the Empress' side and stand shoulder to shoulder with the Empress. It would be fine if Yun Luofeng died. If she succeeded and the Great Elder asked her to give up the position of Empress in order to rope her in, how could she refuse? In order to keep this position and for the Empress, she had to do something. At this moment, the Empress threw Lin Yoyu's dying words to the back of her mind. She only knew that Yun Luofeng must die. Your Majesty. The palace maid was stunned. She gathered her courage and said, Yun Luofeng has already gone to the forbidden area at the back of the mountain. Without the Great Elder's orders, we can't go there. It's all right. The Empress smiled sinisterly. I have my ways to enter the back of the mountain. In the past, the Empress would never have risked her life. But now for the Empress, she could not care so much. Little Chun, I'm going to the back of the mountain now. If the king comes looking for me, you must stop him. Yes, Queen. Palace maid Xiao Chun lowered her head again and said respectfully. After the queen gave the order, she quickly walked out and hurried towards the back of the mountain. At this moment, on the back of the mountain, 2 guards saw the queen walking over quickly and hurriedly blocked her way with their swords. They said expressionlessly, Queen, without the Great Elder's orders, no one is allowed to enter the back of the mountain. The queen's face turned cold as she shouted, How dare you? I am here under the Great Elder's orders. Get out of my way. Empress, please forgive me for not being able to comply. Unless you take out the Great Elder's token, you will not be able to enter the back of the mountain. The queen sneered. The Great Elder only has 1 token, and he has already given it to Lady Yun. Where do you expect me to get another token for you? This. The 2 guards fell silent for a moment and looked at each other, clearly doubting the veracity of the queen's words. The queen's eyes darkened. To be honest, I have come because the Great Elder regrets his decision to order me to bring Lady Yun away. If Lady Yun loses her life in the back of the mountain because of your obstruction, will you be able to bear the consequences? Chapter 1554. The 2 guards looked at each other and asked, Please wait for a moment, Your Majesty. We'll inform the head elder. If the head elder allows it, we'll let you in. The Empress knitted her willowy brows again when she heard the guard's words, and the impatience in her eyes deepened. All right, I'll wait for you here. Unfortunately, by the time you've reported back, Miss Yun would have been long gone. By then, if the head elder blames you, you'll have to bear the responsibility. The Empress fiercely flung her sleeves and berated them sternly. The 2 guards trembled when they heard this. In the end, they gritted their teeth and said, Your Majesty, you'd better go and come back quickly. Once they had spoken, the 2 of them separated and made way for the Empress. The Empress scoffed icily and strode in. The moment she entered the back of the mountain, the corners of her lips curled into a smile as if her scheme had succeeded. In the back of the mountain, the young girl paused in front of a cave. She could faintly sense a powerful aura coming from the cave, and there was even the sound of a dragon's roar. If I'm not wrong, this cave is the forbidden area. Yun Luofeng fell silent for a moment before she slowly walked into the cave. The moment she stepped into the cave, a wave of heat rushed towards her, almost pushing her out of the cave. Master, I sense a very powerful force in this cave. The puppet's body has yet to recover, and it won't be able to withstand more than a few attacks. You must be careful. Yun Luofeng gently stroked the jade pendant on her neck as her lips curled into a smile. All right. In reality, this jade pendant of hers could withstand 1 fatal attack. Otherwise, she would not have taken the risk to come here. As she ventured deeper, Yun Luofeng felt the wave of heat become more and more intense. It was as if it was going to roast her into ashes. Very soon, Yun Luofeng stopped and turned her gaze towards the front. Her eyes were filled with shock and bewilderment. That's. In a large deep pit, an icy blue water dragon was bound in the pit by a thick metal chain. Its body was transparent and it let out a sorrowful roar. It was surrounded by bright red flames. The temperature of the flames was scorching, and the water dragon was in extreme pain. Logically speaking, water subdued fire. However, this fire was not extinguished by the water dragon. The scorching heat seeped into one's soul. Even standing in front of the deep pit, one could feel one's soul trembling. Master, be careful. Little Mo's nervous voice rang out when he saw the huge wave rushing towards him. Yun Luofeng came back to his senses and dodged to the side. At this moment, her back was drenched in cold sweat. If she was touched by this huge wave, she would definitely be scared out of her wits. There was no way to save him. Master, this flame is very fierce. It's the reincarnation flame that can never be extinguished. Even if you're just touched by a spark, you'll die. However, this water dragon's soul has stayed in the flames for so long, yet it hasn't been extinguished. That's quite surprising. Tisk. As soon as little Mo finished speaking, Bai Xiao sneered. Can't you see that? The reason why the water dragon's soul hasn't been extinguished after staying in the spirit flame for so long is not only because of its own abilities, but also because it has devoured many souls and is using these souls to restore its own soul. Bai Xiao was the tree of life. During this period of time, she had not done anything in the temple, but now she could not help but interrupt. Chapter 1555. Master, all these years, the reason why those who have come here have been unable to return is because they have become nutrients for the water dragon. Therefore, in order to avoid suffering the same fate, we should leave first. Yun Luofeng fell silent. She had a feeling that the opportunity to leave this place lay beneath the water dragon. However, ignoring the ferocious fire of reincarnation, just this water dragon alone was not something she could fight against. Master, be careful. Suddenly, Little Mo's anxious voice rang out from within her soul. Yun Luofeng instantly raised her head and saw that the water dragon was already staring at her with its ferocious eyes. Its slightly opened mouth emitted a powerful suction force. That suction force was like a hand that was forcefully dragging her soul out. As for the water dragon's open mouth, it was like an endless black hole that one could not see the bottom of. Yun Luofeng clenched her fists tightly. She felt as if a huge mountain was pressing down on her body. She could not move and could only stare helplessly at the water dragon's gaping mouth. Yun Luofeng, I finally found you. Dang. However, at that moment, a cold laugh rang out from behind her. Yun Luofeng turned her head forcefully and saw that the Empress had appeared behind her without her knowing. Her slender jade-like hands pushed Yun Luofeng fiercely, pushing her into the raging sea of flames. At that moment, Yun Luofeng no longer had the time to think about why she had not sensed the Empress at all when she had appeared here. She also could not think about why the Empress could come to this back mountain. She only knew that there were endless dangers waiting for her below. Crack! The jade tablet on her neck split in half. The rope also broke and fell into the flames. Roar! When the water dragon saw that its food had fallen, it did not care about the arrogant and smug Empress who was standing in front of the deep pit. It used its tail to wrap around Yun Luofeng's body, its ice-blue eyes filled with greed. The 7 continents. In a remote town, a couple was sitting in an inn, resting. Between the two of them, the man was dressed in embroidered robes and looked cultured and elegant. The woman, on the other hand, was valiant and elegant. Her hair was tied up with a red ribbon and her red robes fluttered gently in the breeze. Suddenly, the woman in red's face paled and she stood up with a thud. What happened? The man was startled. His gentle eyes gazed at the woman in red as he asked. The woman in red clenched her fists tightly. Do you still remember the jade token I gave Fenger when we first met? She took a deep breath. I've been carrying this jade token with me since I was young. I've always had a strong feeling about its existence. Back then, I gave Fenger the jade token not only to save her life, but also to let me know if she's still alive. The man's heart suddenly trembled, and he also quickly stood up, eyebrows and eyes filled with worry. You mean? I can sense that the jade pendant has shattered. There was probably no one who didn't know what it meant when the jade token shattered. In other words, Yun Luofeng had already encountered a fatal crisis. I'm going to find Fenger and Xiao. The woman in red's eyes were domineering and her voice was filled with killing intent. If I find out who dares to touch my daughter-in-law, I will make them suffer a fate worse than hell. At the same time, Grandpa Jun, who was in the middle of disciplining his own disciple, seemed to have felt something. With a poochie sound, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Chapter 1556. Master. Jun Xian's expression changed greatly, and he hurriedly held onto his father. He was so worried that he was about to cry. Master, it's all my fault. I actually made you so angry that you vomited blood. Disciple promises that I will listen to Master in everything from now on. I will never make you angry again. The pitiful Jun Xian thought that he had angered Grandpa Jun, causing him to vomit 3 liters of blood. However, Grandpa Jun's face was pale and filled with grief. Little Yun. Something really happened this time. What? Jun Xian widened his eyes in shock and looked at Grandpa Jun. Impossible. You gave her the soul jade plate. If she is in danger, she can just tear the soul jade plate and you will be able to save her. She hasn't even touched the soul jade plate. How could she be in danger? Grandpa Jun shook his head sorrowfully. If that Yun lass really did tear up the jade pendant, it proves that the danger she faced can still be resolved. Since she didn't even touch the jade tablet, it proves that even if I appeared, I wouldn't be able to save her. Based on this girl's character, how could she possibly drag down another person before she dies? Other than the Jun family jade plate that Jun Fengling had given her, Yun Luofeng also had the soul jade plate that Grandpa June had given her before she left. It was also because of this soul jade tablet that Grandpa June could clearly sense that Yun Luofeng was in mortal danger. Perhaps, she no longer existed in this world. Two streams of tears flowed down from the corners of Grandpa June's eyes. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have allowed her to go to the hidden God Mountain. In a corner of the June family's courtyard, June Linger hid her body behind the wall. Perhaps it was because Grandpa June was in a state of grief that he did not realize that June Linger had heard his words. At this moment, June Linger's body was trembling uncontrollably. Unknowingly, tears were streaming down her cheeks. Sister Yun is dead? The big sister Yun who had protected Chao Yueqin while she was strutting around was already dead? Impossible. How could such a powerful and domineering big sister Yun die? Grandpa must be lying? June Linger bit her lip and turned to walk out of the June residence. She had only taken a few steps when a hand grabbed her from behind. Where are you going? June Linger's body trembled. With her back facing the man behind her, her slightly lowered eyes flashed with determination. Cousin, I'm just going out to relax. Relax? I think you're planning to go to the hidden God Mountain to relax, right? Hua Yifei stared straight at June Linger. Under his gaze, June Linger had nowhere to hide. Cousin, I'm just going to verify if Big Sister Yun is really dead. No, it's too dangerous there, you can't go. Hua Yifei tightly grabbed June Linger's hand and said. June Linger's expression was very sorrowful, and her frail body looked very pitiful. Even so, her spirited voice was still filled with determination. Back then when Chao Yueqin bullied me, she stood up for me. Even my father only advised me to be patient. But she wasn't afraid of the June family. She taught Chao Yueqin a lesson on my behalf. Cousin, in this world, other than grandfather, only you and her can disregard everything and stand by my side. Even my father can't do this. June Linger had no intention of blaming June Xian. After all, June Xian was the head of the June family. He had to consider many things. She just wanted to say that no matter what, she had to go to the hidden God Mountain. Linger. Chapter 1557. Hua Yifei's heart tightened, but at this moment, June Linger suddenly turned her head and kissed his lips. This sudden action caused Hua Yifei's body to stiffen. Then, a wave of dizziness came over him, causing his body to stagger a few times. Linger you. Bang! Before Hua Yifei could finish his words, he fell to the ground head first and lost all consciousness. Cousin, I'm sorry. I must go to the hidden God Mountain. She wiped the corner of her mouth, turned around and walked out, not even looking back at Hua Yifei. She was afraid that if she looked at him one more time, she would not be able to bear to leave. Young master, young master. A passing servant saw the unconscious Hua Yifei on the ground and shouted anxiously, Someone come quickly, young master has fainted. At this moment, Grandpa June was still grieving. When he heard the servant's words, he did not have time to recover from his pain and quickly walked towards the front yard. Master, what happened to Yifei? June Xian frowned. Indeed, before one wave had subsided, Hua Yifei had suddenly fainted before Yun Luofeng's life or death was even known. That's right, where is Linger? In the past, if June Linger had heard that Hua Yifei had fainted, she would have rushed over immediately. Why was there no sign of her now? Grandpa June had already straightened his back. He waved his hand and had people carry Hua Yifei back to his room to rest. You don't need to look for Linger. This sentence was directed at June Xian. Master. June Xian looked at Grandpa June in surprise. What did Master mean by this? Yifei fainted because he was drugged, and this drugging was done by Linger. What? June Xian was shocked. Linger and Hua Yifei were childhood sweethearts. They loved each other. Why would she poison him? Grandpa June smiled bitterly and shook his head. If I'm not wrong, Linger must have heard our conversation and found out about Yun Luofeng's accidental death. She must have gone to the hidden God Mountain. At this moment, June Xian's expression changed. He hurriedly ordered, Men, go and bring the young miss back immediately. Grandpa June did not stop June Xian's actions. At his age, he could no longer bear the pain of losing any more family members. Xian, you will continue to manage the June family. I will be leaving for a while. Master, where are you going? If he's alive, I want to see him. If he's dead, I want to see his corpse. Even if the Yun girl is already dead, I will still bring her corpse back from the hidden god mountain and let her rest in peace. The old man took a deep breath, suppressing the pain in his heart, and slowly said, Master. Jun Xian was so scared that he hugged the old man and said nervously, You can't go. The Jun family can't live without you, and I don't want to lose you. Sigh. Grandpa Jun sighed and slowly raised his hand. From the looks of it, he wanted to stroke Jun Xian's head. Don't judge Jun Xian by how awe-inspiring he was in the Jun family. In front of his master, he was always like a child. So, Grandfather Jun's actions were not surprising. Master! Jun Xian's eyes were filled with tears. He raised his head and waited for his master's caress. Jun Xian did not wait for his master's caress. What he waited for was a muffled thud. Grandpa Jun's hand had already landed heavily on his head. At that moment, Jun Xian felt stars before his eyes. He became dizzy and his body fell backwards. Before he fainted, Jun Xian only said one sentence. Master, you are so cruel. Chapter 1558. Grandpa Jun glanced at Jun Xian, who was lying on the ground, then turned to the Jun family. Carry him away. He'll wake up on his own in less than half a day. Yes, old master. The Jun family members responded, but their mouths were twitching. They finally understood where the young miss had learned her personality from. As expected of the people brought up by the old master, they were also unreasonable. First, the young miss knocked out Hua Yifei. Then the old master directly knocked out the old master with a single slap. Grandpa Jun slowly turned around and walked out the door. Hidden Divine Mountain. The forbidden area at the back of the mountain. Inside the huge pit, there was a sea of flames that was incomparably bright red. She slowly opened her eyes and looked at her palm. A look of surprise flashed across her evil eyes. Am I not dead yet? When she came back to her senses, she found herself in a protective circle. No flames could touch her. Master, this is the effect of the jade tablet that Jun Fengling gave you. However, this layer of protection can only last for a short period of time. During this period of time, all attacks will be useless against you. Once this period of time is over, you will no longer be able to do anything. At the beginning, Yun Luofeng had thought that the jade tablet could only block one attack for her, but she didn't know how to block it. Only now did she understand that there was a seal set up within the jade tablet. Once she encountered danger, the seal would automatically release itself, and a protective layer would appear to protect her. Xiaoemo, Bai Xiao. Do you have any way to let me temporarily ignore the fire of reincarnation? Yun Luofeng asked after thinking for a while. As long as I can ignore the fire of reincarnation, I'll have a chance to deal with this water dragon. Outside the protective barrier, the water dragon glared at Yun Luofeng. Its eyes were filled with savagery, greed, and anger. The food that was already in their hands flew away just like that. No matter who it was, they would feel unhappy. Master. Bai Zhao's clear voice came slowly. My tree of life can protect you and allow you to ignore the fire of reincarnation for 15 minutes. However, you must remember that you only have 15 minutes. If you exceed this time, even I won't be able to help you. 15 minutes? Yun Luofeng nodded slightly. 15 minutes is enough. At this point, the layer of barrier that was protecting her gradually faded, as if it would disappear at any time. The water dragon's eyes were filled with excitement because it could already sense that this human girl's soul was about to become its food. Pah! The protective barrier suddenly burst like a bubble. At the same time, a faint green light surrounded Yun Luofeng, dispersing the flames that wanted to devour her. A cool feeling spread throughout her body, making her feel comfortable. Roar! Even though the water dragon was surprised that the world annihilation flame had retreated, it did not hesitate and charged at Yun Luofeng. The gigantic dragon tail slammed into Yun Luofeng's body, sending her flying. She coughed up a mouthful of blood, causing her face to pale. Yun Luofeng wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and looked at the giant dragon with vigilance and determination. You're just the soul of a giant dragon. I don't believe that I can't subdue you. The water dragon sensed Yun Luofeng's provocation and became even angrier. The chains on its body rattled as it shook, its eyes filled with anger. Chapter 1559. Roar! The water dragon roared angrily and swung its tail at Yun Luofeng, as if it wanted to kill the woman in front of it in one blow. Bang! Yun Luofeng took a few steps back and slammed heavily into the rock wall. She lifted her head and wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, a mocking smile in her eyes. Again. Her steps were very fast. In an instant, she was in front of the water dragon. She grabbed the 2 dragon horns on its head tightly with both hands and suddenly climbed up. Roar! The water dragon was even more furious. It opened its mouth and spat out dragon breath, but Yun Luofeng had already climbed up its head. The dragon breath could only hit the wall and be swallowed by the flames. If you were still alive, perhaps I would fear you. Now you're just a spirit. At first, the water dragon did not think much of the woman in white. It desperately shook its head, trying to shake the woman off its head. But then, the woman did something that made it so angry that it wanted to split apart. The woman lay on the water dragon's head to maintain her balance. Then, she opened her mouth and bit down on the water dragon's head. With a ripping sound, she tore out a piece of the dragon's soul and chewed it slowly in her mouth. Roar! The intense pain caused the water dragon's entire body to tremble. It could not help but howl. Its entire body contorted in pain, and its movements to shake Yun Luofeng became more and more violent. But the woman was still holding on tightly to the dragon's horns and gnawing on the water dragon's soul. You want to devour my soul, so I'll devour yours first. Rip. Another wave of intense pain. The water dragon no longer had its usual domineering cruelty. Its eyes were pleading as it whimpered. It seemed to be begging for mercy, hoping that Yun Luofeng would let it go. Let you go? Yun Luofeng laughed coldly. If I were the one who lost, would you let me go? If she failed, she could only be devoured by the water dragon. Since that was the case, she might as well devour the water dragon's soul first. Roar! The water dragon slammed its body against the rock wall in pain. Its cries became even more furious and pained. If Yun Luofeng had not climbed up its head, it would definitely have torn this woman into 1,000 pieces. Yun Luofeng also sensed the killing intent in the water dragon's heart, and his gnawing became more and more violent. Gradually, the water dragon withered and didn't resist as fiercely as before. Its soul was very weak, so weak that it could disappear at any moment. Seeing that the water dragon no longer had the ability to resist, Yun Luofeng summoned the gold-seeking rats. In an instant, the rats surrounded the water dragon and used their sharp teeth to crush its soul, eating it with relish. Not long after, the entire water dragon was digested in the stomachs of Yun Luofeng and the rats. When Yun Luofeng put the rats back into the divine grimoire space, he suddenly felt as if there was a force fiercely pounding against his body. Master, quick, sit down and suppress the power of this water dragon. Otherwise you might explode and die. Little Mo's anxious voice could be heard. This time, Yun Luofeng had indeed been too impulsive. She wasn't a gold-seeking rat and couldn't directly digest the water dragon's soul. If she didn't handle it properly, the power contained in the soul would explode in her body. Yun Luofeng didn't think any further and hurriedly sat down cross-legged. She couldn't care less about the samsara fire around her. She just wanted to quickly suppress the power in her body. Chapter 1560. Oh no! Bai Zhao's heart sank. Her power couldn't last long. If Yun Luofeng didn't leave, the fire of reincarnation would turn her into ashes in an instant. However, it was too late for her to leave the deep pit, and the soul power in her body would make her explode and die. Hearing Bai Zhao's words, she felt that the fire of reincarnation around Yun Luofeng had begun to stir. After a while, when the green light circle around Yun Luofeng disappeared, the fire of reincarnation rushed up and drowned her in the deep pit. Compared with Bai Zhao and the others who were shocked, Xiao Mo was much calmer, but his big bright eyes were still filled with nervousness and worry. If it were my previous master, she would have been turned into ashes by the fire of reincarnation immediately. But don't forget that the water dragon has lived here for so many years without dying, which proves how powerful his soul power is. So my master, who has devoured the water dragon's soul, won't be annihilated so easily. Xiao Mo clenched his fists tightly, a contemplative look in his eyes. I asked my master to stay here and absorb the water dragon's soul because the fire of reincarnation will suppress the water dragon's power. If my master can withstand it, her strength will be improved to a higher level, but if she can't... Xiao Mo's heart trembled, and his face became resolute. No, my master will definitely survive. At the foot of the back mountain, the queen hurriedly ran down. Seeing Shen Yuan who led the guards here, her heart trembled and her face turned pale. Your Majesty, Xian Yuan rushed up aggressively, slapped the queen on the cheek and angrily shouted, "Who allowed you to step into the back mountain?" The queen bit her lips, her eyes brimming with tears. She covered her face with her hands, and her eyes were full of grief. This was the first time that the king had hit her. It was just because of Yun Luofeng. Fortunately, that woman was dead, and no one would come to steal her man. Thinking of this, the queen lowered her eyes, and there was a gloomy and ferocious look in her eyes. "Come on, tie the queen up and send her to the elder's office for punishment." Xian Yuan coldly glanced at the queen, fiercely flicked his sleeves, and turned away. The elder's office. The atmosphere was solemn and stern. The great elder looked at the queen who was tied up and slowly asked, "Queen, do you not intend to give this old man an explanation?" The queen bit her lip. "First elder, I was worried about Miss Yun's safety and wanted to stop her. But I couldn't find her, so I came back." Although First Elder would not abolish her position as Empress for Yun Luofeng, but the king would definitely be dissatisfied with her because of this and would not even look at her in the future. Therefore, she could never admit to what she had done. "Queen, even if you didn't do anything wrong, you have to be punished for going to the back of the mountain without permission." The great elder's tone was stern, and his eyes were cold and solemn. "Men, lock up the queen and let her reflect on her mistakes for 3 months." "Yes, Grand Elder." The 2 guards stepped forward and made an inviting gesture to the queen. "Your Majesty, please." The queen smiled miserably, her sorrowful eyes staring at Xian Yuan. Her eyes were filled with sorrow. "Your Majesty, no matter what I did it for you, but you hurt me every time." Xian Yuan paused and looked up at the queen's pitiful eyes. Although he had no feelings for this woman, he felt guilty at this moment. Chapter 1561. Empress, you shouldn't have gone to the back of the mountain. Xian Yuan shook his head and sighed helplessly. "Empress, I know you value Lady Yun very much. That's why I decided to risk my life to persuade her to come back. If I break the rules because of this, I am willing to accept the punishment." After the Empress said this, she did not look at Xian Yuan again. Her expression was like a warrior rushing to the battlefield, determined and without regret. Xian Yuan felt even more apologetic. He originally thought that the Empress suddenly went to the back of the mountain to deal with Yun Luofeng. He did not expect that in the end, he had misunderstood her. Thinking of how angry he was just now, Xian Yuan's face was full of guilt. The woman he loved had been gone for many years. As her sister, the Empress not only did he not take good care of her, but he also treated her coldly. Therefore at this moment, Xian Yuan decided that he would definitely change his attitude towards the Empress in the future. There were not many women as kind as her anymore. "Empress," the great elder sighed and said sincerely, "this time the Empress did break the rules. That's why I punished her. However, you can also see what the Empress has done for you. I hope you will treat her well in the future." "Yes, great elder." Xian Yuan's expression was respectful, but his eyes glanced in the direction the Empress left. After a moment of silence, he ordered, "Servants, I will be staying at the Empress residence today. Arrange it immediately." In the 2 years since he married the Empress, they had always lived separately. Until now, the Empress' actions had changed him. He finally understood that he should cherish the people in front of him and not wait until he lost them to regret. The huge pit was like the mouth of a giant beast. The rolling flames could instantly devour people and annihilate them. At this moment, within the flames, Yun Luofeng sat cross-legged. Her tightly furrowed brows revealed her pain. What was the combination of ice and fire? No one felt it more than Yun Luofeng. The left side of her body was shrouded in flames, while the right side turned into blue water. However, the feeling that this water gave her was not clear, but cold. Yes, it was cold. It was as if the cold of the 12th lunar month made her body shiver. But the left side was like a sea of flames. The intense pain spread through her soul and did not dissipate. Boom! Suddenly, the blue water turned into a water dragon and fought fiercely with the beast formed by the flames in the deep pit. The water dragon and the ferocious beast were equally matched, and the battle was even more intense. Previously, the water dragon's body had been bound by the metal chains, causing it to be unable to unleash its full strength. Only now did Yun Luofeng realize how powerful this water dragon was. If it was still alive, wouldn't it be invincible in the continent? But, no matter how strong the water dragon was, it was no match for a beast made of flames. Even if water countered fire, it was still at a disadvantage in the battle. If the fire dragon and water dragon remained in balance within Yun Luofeng's body, then perhaps this crisis would be resolved. Once one side gained the upper hand, the one with the upper hand would defeat the opponent and swallow Yun Luofeng. Other than fire, everyone else pass your power to me. Yun Luofeng steeled his heart and ordered. The reason why Huahua was removed was because Huahua was a fire-type spiritual beast. Not only would she not be able to help her, she would even increase the power of the reincarnation flame. Chapter 1562. Yes, Master. In an instant, a powerful force was transmitted from her soul. Yun Luofeng hurriedly gathered all the power and transferred it to the water dragon's body. The water dragon let out an angry roar and its strength rapidly increased. It was originally at a disadvantage, but now it was on par with the beast. Withdraw. Yun Luofeng shouted softly. The water dragon and the beast instantly disappeared and were absorbed into her body. Through her divine sense, she could see that there were 2 spots of light, one red and one blue, occupying the left and right sides of her soul. These 2 spots of light were eyeing her like a tiger watching its prey, waiting for the moment the opponent's strength weakened to defeat it in one fell swoop. Perhaps it was because Yun Luofeng had tamed the flaming beast, the surrounding flames quickly retreated to the side, opening up a path for her. Master, I don't know if your encounter this time is a blessing or a curse. Little Mo's voice was filled with helplessness. Although we helped the water dragon just now, we can only help for a while, not forever. If the water dragon is defeated by the reincarnation flame, your soul will immediately turn into ashes. Yun Luofeng pondered for a moment and asked, What's the solution? Find a water attribute item that can increase the water dragon's strength. Let them reside in your body at the same time, and they will maintain a state of balance for a period of time. As a human, Yun Luofeng could not digest the water dragon, so she could only use the reincarnation flame to suppress it. Although a part of the water dragon had entered the gold-seeking rat's stomach, that bit of soul did not have much effect on the water dragon. Even so, the water dragon was not a match for the flaming beast. Boom! Boom boom boom! Suddenly, lightning flashed and thunder roared in the sky. Powerful spiritual energy swarmed into Yun Luofeng's body. Yun Luofeng hurriedly sat down cross-legged, allowing the wind to blow up her hair. Master, congratulations! You can finally break through to the Saint Lord level. On the 7 continents, only the Saint Lord had the right to stand above all living beings and look down on all heroes. At the same time, everyone in the country felt the shocking movement in the back mountain, and their gazes swept towards the back mountain. They saw a whirlpool spiraling in the sky above the back mountain. The whirlpool contained boundless power and a deep pressure that made those with lower strength unable to straighten their bodies. Back mountain. Shen Yuan and the queen were watching intently. Compared with the urgency of the man beside her, the queen's eyes were filled with nervousness and worry. Why did this happen? How could there be someone breaking through in the deserted back mountain? Could it be Yun Luofeng? No. Impossible. Yun Luofeng was already dead. The person who had broken through was definitely not her. Just as the queen was filled with anxiety, the sound of footsteps came from behind her. Shen Yuan turned his head and looked at the elders who had rushed over. He said respectfully, Great Elder, you're here? The Great Elder's voice was filled with excitement as he stared unblinkingly at the back mountain where the storm was coming from. Even his voice had changed subconsciously. After so many years in our kingdom, there is finally someone who has broken through to the Saint Realm. It is truly a cause for celebration. I wonder who it is that has broken through. Could there be an expert from our kingdom hidden in the back mountain? This was not impossible. He had placed a ban on the back of the mountain, but that did not mean that there were no living people in the back of the mountain. After all, the ban had been in place for more than a decade. More than a decade ago, there were still people who went to the back mountain. It was just that at that time, he was afraid of the dangers in the back mountain, so he didn't ask people to search for survivors. Chapter 1563. Therefore, someone must be hiding in the back of the mountain and had broken through to become a saint. The reason why they didn't link this to Yun Luofeng was because Yun Luofeng didn't reveal much of his abilities after arriving in this country. What kind of existence was a saint? How could a young lady like her break through to this realm? This was completely impossible. Whoosh! Just at this moment, a sudden powerful force sent chills down everyone's spines. When they looked up, they saw a black figure rushing towards them from the void. When he arrived in front of them, they finally saw the person in the void. This was an extremely handsome man. His cold eyes were as sharp as an eagle's. His hands were behind his back as he stood in the void. He was like a king, high above and looking down on all living beings. In this man's deep and cold eyes, it was as if no one could see their reflection. It was so cold that it pushed people thousands of miles away. The moment the Empress saw this man, her eyes were filled with amazement. She originally thought that the Empress was the most handsome man in the world. Her aura was unparalleled. However, compared to this cold man who looked like a king, Shen Yuan was as insignificant as a speck of dust. If she hadn't fallen in love with the Empress and met this man first, she would have fallen in love with him without hesitation. However, her heart already belonged to Shen Yuan. No matter how outstanding he was, he wouldn't be able to touch her heart. Thinking about this, the Empress subconsciously turned to look at the man next to her and stared at him in a daze. "Who are you?" The great elder's face darkened. This man wasn't from their country. Otherwise, it was impossible that he hadn't seen such a powerful person before. The man didn't say anything. He pursed his cold lips and stared at the place where the storm was coming from. His eyes that were originally filled with coldness were now filled with gentleness. "Are you the person who broke through in the back of the mountain?" The great elder frowned and asked. Because ever since this man appeared, the storm of breakthrough had gradually weakened. This proved that the person had already completed his breakthrough. But why was it that this man's eyes made it seem as if there was another person in that place? What puzzled the great elder even more was why such a mysterious man would appear out of nowhere in the back of their country's mountain. "This young master." Shen Yuan frowned. "Who are you?" "Scram." The man snorted coldly. His expression was no longer as gentle as before. Instead, it was cold and murderous. His black eyes glanced coldly at Shen Yuan, his face expressionless. "King, he's too impudent." The queen stomped her foot angrily and raised her head to look at the cold man in the void. "This place is our country's territory. An outsider like you has appeared here without even a word of explanation. Aren't you afraid that we'll kill you?" The man's expression was cold, and he directly ignored the queen. Even looking at him was equivalent to insulting her own eyes. The queen's face was flushed with anger. Just as she was about to yell at him, she saw a little head on the man's shoulder. It was a dark green insect with a body as green as jade. It was so beautiful that it made people want to hold it in their hands and play with it. But this insect's eyes seemed to be filled with contempt? That's right, it was contempt. It was as if it was mocking the queen for overestimating herself. "King, look at them." The queen clenched her fists angrily. Even a little bug dared to look down on her? Chapter 1564. Shen Yuan raised his hand to stop the queen as he stared vigilantly at the black-robed man in the sky. He did not know why, but this man gave him a vague sense of danger. It was as if he could destroy an entire country with just a lift of his hand. The man's cold and unfeeling gaze gradually turned into tenderness. He stared fixedly at the empty space in front of him as his cold, stiff lips unwittingly curled into a shallow smile. His smile was very faint, so faint that it was almost invisible. Even so, that faint smile was imprinted in everyone's eyes. It was nothing more than this to be able to captivate all living things. He really did not smile, but when he smiled he stunned all living things. Everyone looked at the man's gaze, perhaps wanting to know why this cold and unfeeling man had undergone such a huge change. Just as everyone's attention was focused on him, a snow-white dress entered their line of sight. The woman's robes were whiter than snow and she was extremely beautiful. Her entire body was filled with an awe-inspiring evil aura, but it disappeared when she saw the man standing in the sky. Their eyes met, filled with indescribable tenderness and sweetness. The man opened his arms slightly and his black robes fluttered in the light breeze. His gaze was serious and warm as he stared at the woman in white not too far away, as if he wanted to carve her figure firmly into his mind. Suddenly, the woman ran wildly towards the man and quickly rushed into his arms. The man held the woman's slender waist tightly as they kissed passionately in the air. 3 years. This separation had been 3 years. During these 3 years, no one would know how he had spent his time. If he had not believed that Yun Luofeng was not dead, then he would definitely not have endured it. The queen's face was already pale with fright. Yun Luofeng was not dead? How was that possible? Furthermore, looking at the situation, Yun Luofeng and that black-robed man were a couple. Then what about all that she had done previously? If she had known that Yun Luofeng already had a lover, why would she have had to deal with her so painstakingly? The queen could not help but bite her lip as her body trembled gently. At this moment, everyone's gaze was on the man and woman in the air who were passionately kissing. Hence, no one noticed the queen's strange behavior. This girl's power seems to have undergone an earth-shattering change. A look of surprise flashed across the great elder's eyes. We've been wrong from the beginning. The person who has broken through here is this girl. In the beginning, the great elder had not been able to clearly see Yun Luofeng's strength, but at that time, had Yun Luofeng not made him feel some fear? However, this woman gave him an unfathomable feeling. Moreover, the aura that was faintly exuding from his body made him feel fearful. What did this mean? It meant that Yun Luofeng had reached the Saint Realm. I finally meet you. The man's voice was magnetic and hoarse, full of temptation as usual. Yun Xiao, I miss you. Her heartfelt words caused the man's expression to change subtly again. He hugged the woman in front of him tightly and kissed her passionately again. After a long time, he finally let go of the woman in his arms. The corners of his lips curled up slightly. His cold and expressionless face was like melting ice. The woman's figure was deeply reflected in his black eyes. Mistress, I finally meet you. You're even more beautiful than I had imagined. Little Worm, who was lying on Yun Zhao's shoulder, shook his head and spoke to Yun Luofeng in an ingratiating manner. Chapter 1565. What a joke. This was its mistress. If it didn't please her and she threw it away in a fit of anger, who would it cry to? Worm. Yun Luofeng finally noticed the little fellow on the man's shoulder and raised his brows. Little Worm was a little dissatisfied, but it didn't dare to show it. It could only defend itself with all its might. I'm not a worm, I'm a dragon. A dragon. Yun Luofeng stroked his chin and smiled at Little Worm. Yun Xiao, I'm hungry. Her sinister and cunning expression made Little Worm tremble all over. It couldn't help but take a few steps back, its two claws clutching its chest tightly. It didn't taste good. It didn't taste good at all. Master. So the terrified Little Worm turned to look at Yun Xiao and complained pitifully, Mistress wants to eat your pet. Yun Xiao ignored Little Worm and looked seriously at Yun Luofeng. Do you like steamed or braised? Patter. Little Worm heard the sound of its heart breaking and its entire body turned to stone, as if it couldn't believe its own ears. Sob sob. Can Master be so unscrupulous? Mistress wants to eat it and Master has to give it away? What a pity that it hadn't seen enough of this world before it was tricked by this heartless couple. At this moment, Little Worm had never regretted as much as it did now. If it had another chance, it would rather be sealed for millions of years than leave that place with Yun Xiao. Yun Luofeng smiled. Her smile was very beautiful, so beautiful that it moved one's heart. I think worm meat isn't good for nourishment. I'm a dragon, a dragon. No matter how worried Little Worm was about becoming Yun Luofeng's food, at this moment, for the sake of its dignity as a dragon, it still decided to stand up for its own reputation. Yun Xiao, has this little fellow come up with a name? Yun Luofeng continued to ask Yun Xiao as if he hadn't heard what it said. No. In Yun Zhao's heart, only Yun Luofeng was worthy of his attention. Asking him to give a worm. No, give a dragon a name? Not even in his next life. Then in the future. Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes. Call it Little Worm. No. Despair appeared in the depths of Little Worm's eyes. It looked at Yun Xiao in agony. Master, I'm your pet. You're so powerful and noble, you can't possibly let your pet have such a retarded name. Otherwise, it would be a disgrace to you. Furthermore, I'm not a worm, I'm a dragon. Yun Xiao glanced at him coldly and turned to Yun Luofeng. All right. At this moment, Little Worm felt like his worldview had been shattered. He wanted to cry but no tears came out. It also understood that Yun Xiao would listen to Yun Luofeng no matter what. Even if Yun Luofeng asked him to jump off a cliff, he would jump down without hesitation. Why? Why did it meet such a lovesick master? It was fine that he was infatuated with love, but why should he be the one suffering? Little Worm wiped away his tears, his eyes filled with despair towards this world. Yun Xiao, why are you here? Yun Luofeng seemed to have thought of something and asked. Yun Xiao answered seriously. I chased the remnants of the Poison Valley here and accidentally stepped into the place where the little worm was sealed. Unexpectedly, even I myself was sealed. I spent almost 3 years before I was able to undo this seal and collect a spoil of war along the way. Yun Luofeng was silent for a moment before he raised his head to look at the man's handsome and cold face. Chapter 1566. Logically speaking, we should have been trapped in this place and unable to leave this country. But just now, I've already removed the seal on this country. We can also leave this place. This seal was the water dragon. Now that the water dragon had disappeared, the seal had also been removed. What? Her voice was neither loud nor soft, and it fell right into the crowd. Hearing this, the great elder could not contain his excitement. What did you just say? The seal on our country has been removed? That's right. Yun Luofeng's gaze swept across the crowd. The seal has been removed, but whether you can leave the hidden god mountain will depend on your own abilities. Also, before we leave, I have one more thing to settle. As she spoke, her gaze slowly fell upon the Empress. An evil smile appeared on her lips, making her look especially sinister. The Empress' face was as white as snow, without any color. When she met the woman's eerie eyes, she retreated a few steps again, her lips trembling slightly. Boom! A wave of spiritual energy swept over and sent the Empress' body flying. With a loud bang, she crashed into the back of the crowd. The crowd was stunned. Perhaps they did not understand why Yun Luofeng would attack the Empress? Empress! The great elder paled in shock. He looked at Yun Luofeng in confusion. Miss Yun, what are you doing? The Empress went to the back of the mountain to find you because she did not want you to take any risks. She wanted to drag you back. Yun Luofeng chuckled. Her slightly raised eyes were filled with dominance and insolence. You did not want me to take any risks. Are you sure? In an instant, everyone's gazes gathered on the Empress once again. Their eyes were filled with suspicion. Could it be that the Empress had done something out of line to Yun Luofeng? I, Yun Luofeng, am able to stand at the peak with my own abilities. Why should I spy on a mere Empress? I don't even care about the throne, much less the Empress. Her voice was extremely arrogant. Like a meteorite, it struck everyone's hearts. However, you thought that I wanted to snatch your position and did not hesitate to push me into the abyss. If not for my better luck, I'm afraid I would have been annihilated in the abyss. Shen Yuan's body froze. He slowly turned his head. His gray eyes filled with anger and disbelief. Queen, can you give me an explanation? No, it's not like that. She's lying. King, you have to believe me. I love you so much. How could I do such a thing that harms others and myself? The queen knelt and crawled towards Shen Yuan. She hugged his legs tightly and wept as she said. Shen Yuan closed his eyes. When he opened them again, his eyes were filled with pain. Why are you still lying at a time like this? Miss Yun has no enmity with you, so why would she frame you? The queen fell silent. If Yun Shao had not appeared, she would have definitely accused Yun Luofeng of wanting to frame him because he had taken a fancy to Shen Yuan. Now, this black-robed man was so outstanding. How could the other party give up on such an outstanding man to steal Shen Yuan? Seeing that the queen did not speak, Shen Yuan sneered and used his hands to push her arms away from his legs. His eyes were filled with disappointment. He had thought that the queen was kind-hearted and had given up everything for him. That was why he had taken care of her during this period of time. But who knew that in the end, he was actually deceived by her?